Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us at this regular meeting of the Madera City Council and a regular meeting of the Madera Public Financing Authority Board. If we can have roll call, please.
Mayor Magellan,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Montes,
Here.
Councilmember Foley Gallegos,
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilmember Robinson,
Present.
Councilmember Garcia,
Here.
Councilmember Hawley.
Present.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll stand with me, please, and welcome Pastor John Purcell from Believers Church. He will lead us in this evening's invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's all pray together. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day you've given us here in the valley, and we ask you for your presence here tonight. We thank you for your wisdom. We submit our thoughts, we submit our ways under your mighty hand. We ask you to direct us. We ask you not only to protect and bless everyone that will participate here tonight, but Lord, may everything that's said and done bring edification and uplift the city of Madera and all who live here. We thank you for your grace. We thank you for your mercy upon us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Pastor John. If you join me in the pledge, please. Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving into public comment, the first 15 minutes of the meeting are reserved for members of the public to address the council on items which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes, and speakers will be asked but are not required to identify themselves and state the subject of their comments. If the subject is an item on the agenda, the mayor has the option of asking the speaker to hold the comment until that item is called. Comments on items listed as a public hearing on the agenda should be held until the hearing is opened. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda, and no adverse conclusions should be drawn if the council does not respond to public comment at this time.
Would you like to have the agenda approved before somebody steps up?
That would probably be a good idea. Thank you very much. Are there any changes, additions, or amendment to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, move to approve the agenda as presented. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. My name is Sherry Bakke. I am the director of the Hospital Foundation for Madera Community Hospital. My address is 1250 East Almond Avenue, Madera. I brought some invitations tonight to make sure that all of our city council members attend the Hospital Foundation Mixer, which is on Friday the 27th. I will have to say council member Garcia does not need one because he's already made his reservations. Thank you very much, sir. The Hospital Foundation considers the mixer a little bit like an annual ribbon cutting. Can you imagine if you were welcoming a business into your community that employed more than 800 people and welcomed more than 200 doctors in this community? We would be jumping up and down celebrating, wouldn't we? But we should celebrate our hospital every single day. And this is an opportunity to come onto the hospital campus, network with our employees and our doctors, meet with our executive team, and certainly our volunteer board of trustees who have done an amazing job making sure that our hospital doesn't just survive, but thrives every day in this community. So I hope you guys can all make time to attend. I'll remind you that it's a nominal fee of $35, which is inclusive of the entire menu, and Chef has created 18 different items. And it also includes your food and drink. But most of that is covered because of generous sponsors, and I'm happy to report that Mid-Valley is one of our sponsors of the event, and so it's great to have such great community support. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Before we move further, actually, Ms. Montoy, there should have been an amendment or a change to the agenda, and I hope it's not too late to go back. We have another lengthy agenda, and on the agenda we have a couple of reports, item D1 and D2, which is a request from our local high schools. And in the spirit of time and getting the students back to their homework, if you will, I was hoping that we can move these items up to the front of the calendar after consent.
Certainly request that of your peers.
So move to approve that. Second.
Thank you very much for that. It's been moved and seconded to move items D1 and D2 to the head of the calendar. So that'll be under C, hearings and petitions.
Mayor Madillon, can we also move D3 up
Yes.
with D1 and D2?
Thank you very much for that. I think that would be a good idea.
So I amend the motion to include D3.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move items D1, 2, and 3 to the front of the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I really wanted Debbie to stay here throughout the whole entire meeting, though. So we'll move you up, but you still have to stay till the very end. Deal? I'm sorry, if we can continue with public comment.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Alan Gilmore with Madera County Department of Public Health, along with Ms. Baki again, here to provide you with a brief overview of our farmers market experience and to provide you with some data. So we've provided you with some infographics, some information that provides you with data relative to the outcome of the farmers market. This was the farmers market that we came to you several weeks ago, over 3 months ago, to talk to you a little bit about the opening and what we were hoping for. And I think we have partnered well together. And we're really excited about the outcome and looking forward to the farmers market again next year. So what you have in front of you is some specific information about the people who attended. Our staff took the advantage of being able to survey 100 residents who attended the farmers market and ask them some specific questions about what brought them to the event and different things to help us understand why the market could be improved upon or how the market could be improved upon. And some of the things that came up were?
Oh, good. Well, I'll talk about the thing that's most important to me is the amount of individuals that heard about the farmers market because their doctor told them about it. And so I think that's really incredible. You'll see that in one of the round graphs. The other thing that you challenged us with, either at this meeting or in private conversation, was the hospital campus really the best place to hold the market? How is that going to serve one of your goals of making sure that we were providing additional access to fresh fruits and vegetables for some people who may not be able to afford it? And I think you'll see on the infograph the number of people who used WIC vouchers and were very interested in the EBT and senior vouchers. And these are people who are already at the market. And I think that we accomplished that goal very well. And we're excited to expand upon it next year. The other thing that I think blew us away is that we had an average of 200 people attend the market each week. And that was very exciting. Of course, it was doctors and staff as well as community members, but our employees loved it and so did our doctors.
So just a couple of other things maybe to point out. 94% of those that attended reported that they were residents of the city of Madera. 86 out of the 100 individuals surveyed said they came out specifically for the market. And 94 out of 100 plan to come to the farmers market again. So overall, we're really pleased with the results, looking to grow it again next year, and we appreciate your support. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. No, thank you. It wasn't that long ago, Ms. Baki, that you came to us and told us that this was going to happen. And you have really.
I told you I wanted it to happen.
No,
but I
you
needed
no
to make
no.
it
You said
happen.
this is going to happen. I know you well enough to know that you don't ask, you tell. But it just shows how passionate you are about Madera Community Hospital, and you and Karen and all the staff have been doing a wonderful, fantastic job. I just want to mention that you've been very hospitable towards the Madera Ministerial Association and having a day of prayer at the hospital, which that too has been successful, and a lot of great results from that.
Well, just to kind of recap on the day of prayer that we've done the last 2 years, isn't it kind of interesting the great things that are happening at our hospital? And I can't help but believe that because we start our fiscal year with prayer, that it has some little part to do with it.
Maybe.
But there's some awesome things happening, so thank you.
Absolutely, and I saw some of the pictures on social media. You're right, even when it was 108, I think, you still had quite a few people out there. So, but the grapes turned into raisins, but that's okay. You still had fruit.
We did.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you both being here. Thanks, Alan.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Khalid Chaudhry. So I would like to take a moment to express my disappointment with the city's recent response to the Madera County Grand Jury report. I wished I could have been here for that hearing item, but it was scheduled much too late on the agenda for me or anyone with jobs or children to attend. Another coincidence? I think not. Back to the old method of bury it deep and other tricks so no one will notice. And then our mayor smiling and looking around the empty room and happily asking if anyone wants to comment. It was a bad joke. Deciding to partially disagree with almost every one of the grand jury's thorough, impartial, and accurate conclusion is a slap in the face to all the residents of Madera who had to live through that 2 or 3 year long ordeal to expose that self-dealing and corruption. By the way, here, one more comment I saw that, during this presentation, we'll talk to supervising judge. Anybody who wrote this report, response to the report, with what face? Everything was partially disagree. So what would judge think of that person who wrote it? So anyways, especially all those concerned residents that stood up, worked hard, and demanded that City of Madera change, clean up their own house, and work for the benefit of residents again. I sincerely hope that this was not an attempt to discredit the grand jury findings in the eyes of the public, but it appears to me that it was. Taxpayers of Madera are now quickly losing confidence again that anything will really change or improve for residents. And one more thing to note, our esteemed mayor, who was just representing Madera or maybe co-wording in Washington, D.C. at taxpayers' expense, has another new IRS tax lien for $7,400, just filed in April of 2019. How can this be allowed? So it's like, shoplifting, the way shoplifting affects the society, cheating on taxes does the same thing, right? So it affects every member of the society. So I don't know, am I correlating right or not? Thank you very much.
Give me a high five for that, dude. I agree. Good evening, everybody. My name is Josue Manuel Sanudo, okay? My topic of discussion, although you're probably going to direct me to, what is it, C1 or C3, Code of Conduct, whatever. I'm here to talk about social responsibility, And if you just give me 2 minutes, whether you're convinced or not, you might want to consider it, right? I went to Sierra Vista Elementary, and then I went to Eastern Arcola, and then I went to Thomas Jefferson. And I was the first, at 14, I was the first soccer player to make it on the U.S. national team from here in Madera, okay? At 17, I was expelled from Madera High School. At 19, I was expelled from Fresno City College. Now, when I had a spiritual awakening in 2012, it changed my life, and so I started to see the bigger picture, Unfortunately, I can't tell you about my sister too much because she's not here. She died of mesothelioma cancer, and, well, that's just a whole different topic. But while I was in LA, I graduated with a bachelor's in entertainment business and got an associate's in audio engineering. I thought I was going to be a rapper, but they tricked me. It was a lot more than I could take, but I graduated. Anyways, right now I'm currently enrolled in a master's program in business administration, specializing in entrepreneurship. And sorry, I just lost my train of thought, but I think you guys are taking it very lightly, the social responsibility. I think it makes a bigger impact than you guys can ever imagine, And I think it's a topic that you guys need to take serious. And I don't want to get anybody fired, and I don't want to talk about anybody in a way where I'm going to be rubbing you guys the wrong way, because those are not my intentions. My intentions is just to, hey, wake up. That's it. Wake up, and you guys are doing a great job at some things. Poor jobs at many things. I'm not here to judge. I make mistakes all the time. But that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Just consider social responsibility being a bigger, much more serious thing than you could ever imagine. I just got 3 questions that you can answer today or tomorrow, whenever you guys develop a response. Since your response to the grand jury about your implementation and social responsibility, what actually plan of action have you guys taken? 2, what do you think of social responsibility and the district attorney's apparent transparency that the office holds? Lastly, how can I help?
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak under public comment, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is April Molina. I live in Madera County. I'm the city administrator for Love Madera. I'm here simply to announce, finally, it's taken me a long time to kind of pull things together. My husband and I, we walked the downtown area yesterday, talked to the different business owners and managers and things like that. And we are excited to announce that Love Madera will be taking the Halloween umbrella this year. We will be pulling the community members towards downtown to do their trick-or-treating. It'll be a safe place. I've already been in contact with Christina Herrera and Wason Juarez with Madera PD. The PD will be open, well, their parking lot will be open. I've already contacted the undersheriff, so the sheriff's office will be another safe location that they will be able to go. I'm still trying to contact probation, but I'll get a hold of somebody. I know a lot of people. But anyways, I would love to invite all of you. I don't know. I live in the county, so I know who's supervisor over the different areas. I'm not as familiar with the city and who the city council members are and where your locations are. So I apologize if I've skipped over the person that's in charge of the downtown area. I don't know who is. So anyway, just to kind of announce, it'll be going out. I have a flyer I got to get approved through the school district. I'm excited about. I have the Lions members who are going to be collecting candy for some of the locations. This is year number 1. We don't expect a lot of attendance, but because the Madera Ministerial Association will not be holding nightlight at the fairgrounds, that's 5,000 people that will not be having any place to go that they're used to because they've been doing it for a long time. So anyway, if you hear of anybody who's asking, please let them know to go downtown this year for Halloween to do their trick-or-treating. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Molina. Appreciate that. Anyone else wishing to speak under public comment, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close public comment and we'll move into presentations. Our first presentation is by Mid-Valley Disposal. This is a report or an update on the first and second quarter. Looks like a duo.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members. My name's Yvette Rodriguez, and I oversee the recycling department for Mid-Valley. Tonight, we have Irma Capistan. She's just one of our recycling coordinators that works here in the city, along with Annette Kwok. She couldn't make it tonight, unfortunately, but they work together with the team to serve the city of Madera, providing reliable service. And we have here tonight also Joseph Kalpakoff, our owner, and Casey Austin as well. I'm going to go ahead and open up the PowerPoint. And Irma is going to provide you with first and second quarter updates regarding work that was completed and also some additional information regarding our programs. And so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Irma.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Again, thank you for having us here. I don't have my Lucky Charm in it, but I have my other Lucky Charm. So we are presenting first and second quarter updates. And our overview is as follows. Our Cal Recycle update, multifamily recycle audits, commercial recycle audits, education and outreach events in the community, cleanup updates, residential contamination program, and our upcoming events. So our annual report for, sorry, 2018, each year, each city must submit an annual report to CalRecycle to summarize its progress in reducing solid waste. So, which is calculated to our disposal rate, pounds per person per day. Our target per person per day is 4.9, but it's actually to stay below that 4.9. We're not supposed to hit that 4.9. So this year, our annual rate was actually 3.9, so great job, City of Madera. For our multifamily assessments, 203 multifamily complexes were visited during our months of January, February, March, April, May, and June. We provided education. We are still focusing on the contamination, and of course, trying to get every multifamily in compliance with the Assembly Bill 341. Our outstanding multifamily complex are 701 South Granada, 1995 North Lake, and 765 Milano Lane. These apartment complexes are 50+ units, and I am actually super proud of these apartments because they were in my competition of my previous presentation we did. So they are, of course, keeping up with the recycling efforts. And of course, this is just education we provide for every multifamily. Just wanted to show what it's out there. Every time we have an event, we do outreach, and we provide all the multifamily managers. For our commercial assessments, 170 commercial businesses were visited during our first and second quarter. Education was provided. We are focusing on contamination and mainly on illegal dumping. We do get quite a bit of business regarding illegal dumping, but luckily for us, we are working with Officer Juarez, and he's helping us out there in the community. And of course, we also want everybody in compliance with the Assembly Bill AB 341. Our outstanding business are AMPM and Serrano's Furniture. Now for the organics, 68 businesses and multifamily complexes were evaluated to determine if they follow under AB 1826. We are signing up for self-hauls. We are placing organic bins depending on how much organics they generate per week. Our outstanding organics are El Toro Loco, Maranatha Restaurant, and Jack in the Box. Hopefully you guys had dinner already. You might lose your appetite.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, that sounds good.
But as I said, for AMPM and Serrano's Furniture, these are the bins we really want to see throughout the year. So hopefully this year we are focusing more on commercial, so we actually hit more, and hopefully we see more of these recycle containers being super clean and nice. Now for the organics, I know these pictures don't look nice, but for us, it's actually very clean picture and nice. And this is what we're always looking for when we do organic assessments. And of course, just as multifamily, we do provide education for our commercial. They are a little bit different, but we keep it general for residential as well to use. Same with organics. We always like to provide that education. And I mean, hopefully everybody's placing them in the correct bin. Now for our hazardous waste, Mr. Garcia, you asked us last presentation if we had any hazardous waste drop-off flyers. So we do have them, and actually this one, Joseph Carello, he helped me create this flyer. So thank you, Joseph. Now for our flammable material. Yes.
Do you mind if I ask a question?
Go ahead.
This is related to this point. I think I also asked if we were going to provide more disposable units for folks with the syringes.
Right. So for, I mean, I don't exactly know if we can provide any more. Perhaps the location. We do want safety as well, since we do have them in the PD department and the fire station. Perhaps any suggestions where you would think it will be a safe location to place them? Okay.
Thank you.
Now for our flammable material flyer, I wanted to show this because Annette and I worked very hard, and we were going stand by stand to every fireworks stand to, educate them about our safety, regarding the fire. I mean, July is a hot month. I mean, everybody's having barbecues, of course, the fireworks. So we've been having a couple of fires out of Murph, and as you can see in the picture to the right, our truck actually had to dump the trash in the middle of the street. So now this is a hazard for the residents, for our driver, I mean, throughout the whole community, even our air quality gets polluted. We did attend 8 community events for our first and second. They are as follows: Alpha Elementary, Health Fair, Business Extravaganza, Community Event, and our Fruit and Veggie Fest. We also attended Earth Day, ribbon cutting at Sugar Pine Smokehouse, and of course, our scholarships. And last time we were supposed to provide you with an update for our curbside cleanup. Our trash actually did increase. We had 1,704 plus tons, which last year was only 1,480 tons. For metal, we had 48.61 tons, and last year was 36.85. As you can see, there was a little drastic change in the metal, and of course in the trash. We had 42 loads of metal in our bin truck, 88 loads in our front end load truck, and last year we only had 34. We had 415 roll-off loads. Last year was 345, and we pulled 1,232 mattresses, which we loaded 53-foot loaders. Yeah. So somehow we always accumulate more trash every year. So this is something new, our residential contamination program. Annette and I will be on the ground working with this contamination program. We will go Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, only 3 routes, but we will be hitting every customer organics and recycling container, making sure everybody is recycling correctly. This is only an educational program. There will be no penalties, no issues. We just want to know where the city is in regards to recycling. And now we do have our new 2019 clean air vehicle, which is ready to serve the city of Madera. We have our truck actually entering the Old Timers Parade, so keep an eye for our colorful truck. Our clean air vehicle eliminates tailpipe emissions by curbing gasoline use and increasing use of more environmentally friendly energy sources, which means fewer vehicle emissions means less pollution in the environment, which helps our air quality and promotes a better health. Now for our upcoming events, which hopefully we see each other out there, our residential contamination program, which I will have an update next meeting for 3rd and 4th quarter, and our Old Timers Festival, or Pomegranate Festival, and our Christmas Candlelight Parade. Okay, any questions?
Fantastic. Any questions? I just want to make a couple of comments, maybe going backwards. You had said that there was a lot more trash this year than last year, and really that's your fault. I say that because your outreach for this curbside cleanup has just been absolutely fantastic. And I can tell you that the community absolutely loves that they can get into their basements or their garages or sheds, knowing that you're going to come by within a few days. They outreach to let people know to please don't go through the trash, put it out just a couple of days prior. You have followed that map in dates and times to a T, which has been absolutely fantastic. You have a hardworking crew out there. So the residents take advantage of that, and we really, really thank you for doing that. It literally cleans up the city. And so I want to thank you for that outreach and education. There's no substitute for grassroots. This is who we are. And I know I've said this to Annette, and I'm saying this to both of you. You guys are in our community at all the events and at our schools constantly, and that's what it takes. The outreach and education is exactly what it takes. But something that has also been improved is meeting with the residents that don't speak English. And our Spanish-speaking community has benefited over Mid-Valley in your efforts to reach them on a face-to-face, one-to-one level, to also offer all this education in a second language. And I would love to take it a step further. they want to comply, and they really warm up to you guys in a net. They really, really do. You have the competition with the multifamilies. I thought that was a huge success, and I think you're going to get a few more people that want to be on board with that. So I really just want to thank you for that outreach, for your face-to-face, one-on-one grassroots effort to get out into Madera and let everybody know just how important it is, why we have 3 different color bins, and that you will provide every bit of information going all the way down to the grade school level and sending information home to mom and dad. That's absolutely fantastic. So keep up the fantastic work. Thank you for this update. We really appreciate it. Thank you. You guys have done great.
Good evening, Mayor. One quick thing, council member staff. Joseph Calgoff, owner of Mid-Valley Disposal. November 15th, we are having our Ledge Day at Harris Ranch. It's an annual luncheon, and we brief city councils and cities throughout the valley on recycling ledge, what's going on in Sacramento, and how it's going to affect our communities and our pickup. Cece was there last year. Santos, we got an RSVP from you already. Thank you. But we encourage you and staff to attend that luncheon in November.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kalpikoff. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
And one last thing, in our water bills, we did receive the flyer that gave English and Spanish on the back this last month we just got, that gave our residents a little bit more tuning in of what they can put in the blue, what they can't. So that was really colorful and loved it. Gave great information.
Were diapers on there? That's always the big question. What color do the diapers go in? Not the new ones. It's very confusing. Okay, just let people know. The recycling guys would love people to adhere to that, right?
And I saw your new truck in Madera. I followed it. My daughter goes, "Where are you going?" I go, "I have to see the new truck. What is it?"
Really cool.
It's exciting.
Are we riding on that for the parade?
What about we?
I don't mean to put you on the spot. Fire truck's cool too, Chief. We like fire trucks too. It is my honor and my pleasure to take a few moments and introduce some young adults from the SWAT coalition. SWAT. I think we've all heard, especially lately in the media, about vaping and the dangers of vaping and what has happened. It's actually cost the lives of some young folks. But before all that was ever in the media, the members of SWAT, these young folks, were out in the community, out at events, and trying to educate the community about the dangers of tobacco, which included vaping. So they're way ahead of this, and they have been working tirelessly to educate our community. And a few years ago, they had contacted me. We had a great sit-down on how we can work together with City Hall and this group, and the county, the tobacco control program. We all got together, is what we do in Madera, and we partner to see how we can help one another. And I was so impressed by their efforts because it wasn't just pointing out a problem, it was followed up by solutions. And their efforts to go to convenience stores and meet with the owners and managers and employees and say, we're here to help. We understand that you're running a business and we don't want to hinder that. What we want to do is help you. We want to educate the young folks out there of the dangers of tobacco. Of course, the law is the age of 21, and statistics will show that by that age, a lot of our kids have been smoking for years now. So they've taken it upon themselves to really champion this effort towards the dangers of tobacco. And they came to the meeting with solutions, as I had mentioned. They impressed the convenience store owners who sell tobacco products so much so that they want a seat at the table to support the SWAT team. To say, we want Madera to be a healthier, safe place for everybody. And so what can we do to partner with you? And I thought that was impressive. I really thought there might be some resistance, but they were so impressed by these members of the SWAT team. I was so impressed that I wanted to bring them here to a council meeting. I wanted people to see who they were and understand just a little bit about them. And as you see them out in the community, I'm asking for your support and to listen to them and do whatever we can to educate Madera and Maderans. So with that, I'd like to call up Maria Barragan. She will say a little bit more, introduce her staff, And then we will recognize the members of SWAT who are here, and then there's some who aren't here, but we will certainly recognize them as well. Maria?
So good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Barragan. I'm the Health Education Coordinator for the Tobacco Control Program. And I just wanted to take the opportunity first to thank City Council and the Mayor for giving us the opportunity to be here today to highlight our students. We actually currently have about 19 students between ages of 13 and 17 that are part of our youth coalition in the city of Madera and also the city of Chowchilla. So I would like to also introduce our staff, Jasmine Gallegos and Graciela Valdez. They're actually the leads in our youth engagement, and they're going to be helping me today to introduce our youth. And some of our youth would like to take this opportunity to talk to you guys a little bit about the work they've been doing out in the community, and also to invite all of you guys, if you guys have youth under the age of 18 that would like to be a part of our coalition, we are open for them to be a part of this, and we would like for them to join our movement. So
Good evening, everybody. My name is Graciela Valdez. I'm one of the youth leads for the Students Working Against Tobacco Youth Coalition.
My name is Jasmine Gallegos. I am also one of the leads for the Youth Coalition.
So as we call some of our youth partners today, would you all please stand up as we call your name? Not everybody is here today, but these are some of the youth that have been most active, particularly for issues related to Madera. So once we call your name, if you could please join us up here.
Why don't we start with, I'd like to announce the names of the ones who are not here.
All right.
And then we'll recognize the ones who are.
Very good. So some of our youth partners that couldn't be here today in attendance, we have Miss Aviance Evans, we have Miss Valeria Palomares, Maria Pichardo, Jonathan Pichardo, Isabella Ventura, Yasmin Evans, and Abira Evans.
Go off that list or this list, whatever you
Call the stars.
So I'm going to go ahead and start calling up some names. The first one that I have is Angela Castañeda. Miriam Escalera. Jocelyn Hernandez. Ramirez. Alexity Ortiz. Anaí Perez. Glorimar Cortez. And Moises Carante.
By the time we get a man on board.
And now we're going to hear a little bit from Anaí Perez and Maria Ramirez.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Ramirez, and I am a member of the SWAT, Students Working Against Tobacco. On behalf of our SWAT team, I would like to thank the Madera City Council for collaborating with us in addressing the tobacco-related issues in the city of Madera. Your support is a vital part to successfully protecting the health of our community. It would be a great honor to continue collaborating with you, especially in efforts to combat the vaping epidemic that has come to surface and recently taken the lives of 8 people across the state, 2 of them being from the Central Valley. And now we will hear from Ms. Anaí.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Anaí Perez, and I'm just here to tell you guys a little bit of what we do as the Students Working Against Tobacco Coalition. So we were developed in January of 2019 to give students in the Madera County a platform for addressing tobacco controls and the issues affected in our community. So we've been doing a lot of outreach, policy change, and service. We've done lots of community work. So for example, we've done a few buds cleanup in our local parks, and we've done a lot of informative things for our community, and we also have done a couple marches And we just really hope that if there's anybody out there that wants to come join our coalition, we'd really appreciate that. We love the support you guys give us, and we're just really appreciative. Thank you.
As you can see, they're very passionate about what they do, and they're making a huge impact right here in the city of Madera. So at this time, what I'd like to do is have everybody up on the dais so we can take a quick group photo. That be okay? Council, that be all right? We can prepare?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm taking my chair, Don.
Good to see you.
Hi.
I know, right? See you. I want to
balance it out.
If y'all smile out there, they'll smile up here.
Thank you. You're welcome. Appreciate it. Thank you, Alan. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Wait before y'all go. Mr. Mayor, if I have a word.
Absolutely, Mr. Councilman.
You know, this here program is real dear to my heart because I remember when we started this tobacco coalition. And I'm just glad to see the work that we've done and they're continuing to do. I'm glad they got some young feet to walk around and take us old folks like me and Alan out the way. You know, so you young ladies, I accommodate you highly. I really appreciate what you're doing. So when I look out there and see you like ladies are working for the better of Madera and our parks and what we passed our bill to keep smoking out of parks, I just thank you for all the work you did with counting butts. Yeah, we did a lot of that. So appreciate all Jasmine and Alicia and all you girls and Alan, what your team has done. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Great comments. Thank you very much. You've been very active, Mr. Councilman, especially in the McNally Park area. And I can't believe how many bags of cigarette butts.
Oh, God.
I mean, literally bags full at one park. And speaking of parks, it was really your group that was very, very instrumental as we spoke about making the parks in the city of Madera smoke-free. You guys take a lot of credit in that because it was your efforts and your awareness and coming here to council and helping us do so, making us aware of that. So, again, we applaud you. Thank you very much. Is there somebody here from the Historical Society? I have a proclamation for Old Timers Week. We were talking about the parade. And I would really like to recognize September 24th through the 28th, Old Timers Week. Now, I'm not sure if they still have the buttons for the peach fuzz, because I cannot grow a beard. They don't have that anymore? Well, I'm lucky because I was put in jail almost every time for not having a beard, and the fake one really didn't work. But the parade has been a long-standing tradition in the city of Madera, and recently the Kiwanis Club was no longer able to do the parade, and it was really, really, it was a blow to the city. That's where we congregate. That's where we met people. That's where the Lions did the barbecue in the park. The kids loved the balloons, and it was the bands, and it was absolutely fantastic. And so, speaking of the Lions Club, they stepped up with some partners, I believe so. Is that right, Councilwoman? Is it just the Breakfast Lions Club? I mean, the Evening Lions Club?
No, it's actually Nick Salinas from Supervisor Poitras's Chief of Staff who took the lead. And then the young professionals are doing correct me if I'm wrong, young professionals are doing the booths, evening Lions are doing the food.
Thank you so much for that. My apologies for not knowing, I was still not sure.
And Downtown Association is helping fund some of it. Sunrise Rotary too.
Debbie, I'm sorry, if you would. Well, you'll call him back later. No, I really want to recognize a few people here. One, the Kiwanis Club, for so many years, for what they've done. It's a lot of hard work, and they have done a wonderful, wonderful job with our parade over the years. Like I said, it's not easy. It's months and months of preparation. And I believe there's members of the Kiwanis Club that are still around that are helping. Yes. And I do know that the Evening Lions Club stepped up, and I know Nick Salinas and a few others, but I wanted to make sure that they're recognized, the people that stepped up to the plate and said, we will continue the tradition with the Old Timers Day Parade. So can you help me with that?
There is a transition process. Unfortunately, last year, the Madera Kiwanis Club announced that they would be dissolving their chapter. And for many years, they have organized the Old Timers Day Parade with the financial backing and support of the Madera Downtown Association. The Madera County Historical Society were the organizers of the booths in the park, which is also a part of Old Timers Day. This year, the Historical Society turned over the booths in the park activities to the Madera Young Professionals. The Madera Downtown Association put out a press release because the parade was very much at risk of not happening this year. And interesting, we had a lot of individuals, citizens of this community step up to the plate that said they couldn't take over the parade. However, they would be right there to volunteer, do what they needed to do. And ultimately, Madera Sunrise Rotary did step up to the plate and offered to organize it. Nick Salinas, under Supervisor Robert Poitras, and just as a community activist, also said that he would help to chair the parade this year. So you've got several groups. Madera Downtown Association funds the parade. The Madera Sunrise Rotary is organizing the parade under the leadership of Nick Salinas. And so you've got multiple groups involved. The Chamber has helped to facilitate this. So it's a community effort. And I think it's a day to celebrate the team efforts of this community come
Absolutely.
Timers Day.
Absolutely. We want to do that every day of the year. That's who we are in Madera, but especially Old Timers Week. Once again, September 24th through the 28th. Does anybody remember when we had the parade and then we went to the fair after that? Yeah, well, that was awesome because all the bands led us through.
I'm not that old.
Huh? You don't remember, Donald. You're not that old. Anyway, with the aforementioned and all the partners and all the citizens and everybody who stepped up to the plate, this proclamation is for all of you, and I want to publicly thank you all for stepping up and carrying on that tradition here in the city of Madera. Moving right along, we have no workshop, but we do have a consent calendar. Under consent calendar, matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, a member of the public or a member of the council may request an item to be removed from the consent calendar, and it will be considered separately. So I'll ask at this time, is there any council member wishing to pull or further discuss an item on the consent calendar? Seeing none, I'll ask if there's anybody in the public wishing to pull a consent item. Seeing none, I'll bring the consent calendar back to the council for action.
So move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for that. Moving on to item, I'm sorry. Melissa, did you have something? Yeah. If it's okay with my colleagues, I would be happy to offer the podium if it's okay with our attorney.
Concerning the consent calendar? Oh, okay. She obviously missed it, so I think if you want her to go ahead and have that opportunity, you
Absolutely.
can have her come up.
Yes, we are.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So I guess at the county, after the consent items, we have an opportunity for the public to come forward. So I was kind of waiting for that. I didn't want to necessarily pull something for discussion, so my apologies. Melissa De Silva, Chief of Staff to Supervisor Brett Frazier, and a member of our Intergovernmental Coalition from Madera County. Item B7 tonight talks about you approving a cooperation agreement between the County of Madera and the cities of both Madera and Chowchilla. We just want to say thank you. This will be our third year that we'll be in this cooperative agreement, and we just really, really appreciate you coming to the table and discussing items of concern for our entire community. So we want to say thank you. Our next meeting will be October 26th. It's going to be from 9 to 12 at the Chowchilla Wilson Middle School. You folks hosted last year. We hosted the first year, so we're kind of doing a roundtable with that. So there will be an invitation coming forward shortly. So we just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you for all of your efforts. We appreciate that.
What was the date again, Melissa?
October 26th.
October 26th.
Okay, good.
October 26th, yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. So, moving on to item D1. D1 is consideration of a resolution approving a written request by the Madera South High School seeking City Council approval to cover the cost of police and public works efforts in the amount of $3,234 in association with the homecoming parade, which will be on September 27th. Lieutenant.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'll invite up Justin Potter to, just in case you guys have any questions of him as well. So what this request is basically to waive the fees of on-duty personnel and permit fees and the cost associated with Alert-A-Light, which is for traffic control and to protect the students during the parade route. This is an annual request that we normally honor, and again, staff is recommending that we honor that request.
Great.
So once again, Justin Potter, Activities Director for Madera South High School, along with our student body president, Emily Zamudio. It's that time of year again. Homecoming is coming up starting next week for us, and so I'll hand off the rest to our ASB president.
Mayor Andy Medellin and members of the City Council. For the last years, our school's homecoming festivities have featured a community parade thanks to your contribution and support. We are beyond thrilled to continue the tradition of promoting our school's pride this year. Please consider this letter as a request to be put on the agenda for your next meeting. This parade is a tradition we hope to continue as a way to showcase our students and our Stallion alumni. Approximately 900 Madera South students participate in the homecoming parade, consisting of the band, cheer teams, football teams, and class and club floats. We are continuing the tradition of allowing Madera South feeder schools to participate in the parade. This will increase students' participation to over 1,000 students. Additionally, we invite our feeder schools and provide transportation to spectate along the parade route. We understand that an event of this magnitude will incur many costs for all parties involved. We make sure to inform all residents who reside on the parade route to make sure they are aware of the road closures. We ask that the City of Madera would continue to support this event that is truly meaningful to the students and the community of Madera by waiving the permits, police, and public work fees that are associated with this event. We also ask to continue the agreement that was made that the City of Madera will pay but not exceed $1,500 towards the rental of safety barricades through the company, Alert-A-Light. We will pay for the remaining balance of the barricades, which is usually an additional $200 to $300. We are looking forward to another spirited community pride event. Thank you for your consideration of this matter.
Thank you so much, Ms. Zamudio. You did a fantastic job. Now, I met you in May as they passed the gavel.
Yes.
And so you had a few weeks or so, and at the end of last year, and now as ASB president. Tell me, is it what you thought it was?
It's a handful, yes, but I really enjoy this position, and I'm glad I took the risk of doing this opportunity and sticking to it.
It shows in your voice, and it shows in your professionalism. And it's like, yeah, I got better things to do than to go to a council meeting down there and have to read this thing, but you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And I've heard a lot of great things about you. from your peers as well as some teachers and staff, and you're doing an excellent job. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this particular item? Anyone from the audience? Any council member have any questions or concerns? Yes, Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Medellin. The question is more for the police department. Brian, the question regarding the fees. So last year, I know fees were a little bit lower. Could you comment as to why they've increased a bit more?
Probably because the staffing costs.
So more time involvement? Okay.
So a little bit more pre-prep. What we've approximated the cost of the police at about $1,033, and then public works costs around $600. And this is staff that's already on duty, so it's not really an out-of-pocket cost. We're going to be paying those personnel as it is. So we're just diverting their activities to the parade for that period of time.
So basically highlighting what the cost would be had they not been on duty or something. Is that what I'm getting at?
What's that?
Is it the cost that we would incur had they not been on duty, or?
No, this dollar amount would be if we were to make them reimburse the city for the officers and the public works time.
Good. Yeah, I just noticed that last year we had it at $1,200 and $1,500 for both high schools, so I just don't know how that increased.
Yeah, if you'll notice, and this is something that an annual report that comes up, and those numbers were kind of stale for a few years, and you're seeing
Wow.
fresh and updated numbers in this year's report.
Good. Thank you, Mark.
No more cut and paste.
Yeah, exactly. Councilwoman Gallegos.
I think this is for Justin. Just a question. Why is homecoming so early?
They moved the football season. Last year they moved it back or earlier 2 weeks, so that kind of shifted everything. So usually it's been in October, but now we're at the end of September.
And who are you guys playing that night?
Mission Oak. And our theme is decades. So the 10 years, it's been a decade, and they're coming back, so it's kind of and since the first 10-year reunion, the first homecoming,
Nice.
Anyone who's attending the reunion is going to get into the game for free for Madera South, so we're looking forward to building the community through that and celebrating the decade. So that's
Very good. Very good. Just be prepared in the parade route that Madera Police Department is just as popular as you guys. You should charge them to be in the parade because they're loved by our community, and they love being in the parade too. Just to let you know.
Take that into consideration.
Yes, yes. I think it's another tradition, as we talked about the Old Timers Week and the Old Timers Day parade. This tradition of over 50 years. It's the same thing at Madera South High School. Starting those traditions. It's been a decade already. It really kind of flew by. We look forward to many decades to come. But keeping that tradition and having that parade route and I think bringing in the feeder schools and the elementary schools is a fantastic idea. Get them used to seeing the purple and black and white because one day they're going to be at South and they're going to look at that parade with just big wide eyes. So you guys are doing a great job. Thank you very much for that. If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion for item D1.
So move to approve.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve item D1. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Ms. Zamudio, keep up the fantastic work. It's good to see you again. Item D2, this is consideration of a resolution approving a written request by the Madera High School seeking council approval to cover the cost of police and public works efforts in the amount of $3,234 in association with their homecoming parade, which is on October 4th. Lieutenant.
Yes, so this is going to seem like Groundhog's Day, but this is where cut and paste was utilized. So I'd like to call Isaac Lopez, who's the Director of Student Activities, who made the written request to the city. And again, this is a long tradition that the city has engaged in. The numbers and the costs are the same, and staff is recommending that we continue this relationship and waive these fees.
Go, Isaac, go, Isaac, go.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm going to wait and let the smarter folks do the talking. Thank you for having us.
Of course.
A couple items here that they want to deliver as well. They'll make sense once they're getting through their presentation.
Wonderful.
For those of you who don't, as Officer Steve said, I'm Isaac Lopez, Activities Director at Madera High School. I'm here with a couple cabinet members of our executive board tonight. So I'll start with, well, Miss Ali Barriga is our ASB president, who's handing out some goodies there. This is Yalen Fernandez Ortiz, who is our ASB vice president of business, and Danny Barriga, who's our rally commissioner. So they're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing here, and as Officer said, Groundhog Day, but in a different color.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ali Barriga, your Madera High ASB president, as Mr. Lopez introduced us already. But we're here tonight to talk to you about homecoming, and we're all very excited because homecoming is right around the corner, October 4th, and this year's theme is Yodis Hit the Road, so we'll be going on a road trip. We chose this theme because if you remember, last year was New York, and so we want to travel our way back to the heart of California, Madera, and we thought it'd be a great idea because maybe not everyone gets to travel, so we thought we'd bring the states to our students, and it'd just be fun to travel all together. We also love homecoming because we love to involve our community, so our feeder schools will be participating in the parade, like Madison, Lincoln, and we'll also have our cheerleaders, our band, our football players, several clubs at our school, and it would just be a great time.
Absolutely.
Good evening as well. I'm Yalen Fernandez, as introduced previously before. And going along with what Ali said, the community is a very big part of what our homecoming parade is truly made up of. And not only for that, but we also like to thank the support of our community and, of course, of the council members for being able to bring our parade to more of like the center of the city, this time being around Howard Road. So it's something that we kind of previewed previously with the Robotics World Championship Parade, and we kind of wanted to lead up to this to now being our homecoming parade. And this is truly an incredible opportunity that thankfully we have been had the opportunity to have, because now we are going down the middle of Madera, so now a lot of the businesses and a lot of the community are able to come out and support. And that is a really big thing to what makes us as Madera High. We want to bring out the community, we want to bring out that support. And not only that, but we really, really want to thank everyone and everything that everyone has done for us and for Madera High, and we really, truly appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you for your comments.
Once again, I'm Danny Barriga, the Rally Commissioner at Madera High School, and to council members, we would love to invite you guys to participate in the parade, maybe riding a float or judging the floats this year.
Nice. Councilman Garcia.
As a proud graduate of Madera High, I'll be out there.
So I'm going to ask you first, who's the Grand Marshal for the homecoming parade? Do we know yet, or is it secret?
Okay. Our Grand Marshal for this year is going to be Miss Joetta Fleek.
Great, great.
Be our Grand Marshal.
And does South have theirs? Miss?
Wonderful.
It wasn't me.
Councilman Hawley.
Yes.
I don't know if that was your comment or not.
No. Isaac, last year we had a misfortune. Something happened and my nephew left something at the school. And personally, I want to thank you for taking your time out on your off day to go out and make sure that young man got his material back. He was so happy that he didn't think nothing like that would ever happen to him. So thank you for your assistance. I wanted to say that publicly because you made his heart feel good. I didn't know who to call, but I had your number, and I appreciate you taking care of that for him.
Ms. Montoy, I have a question that I hate to ask, but in the spirit of transparency, I'm going to. Ali Barriga and Danny Barriga are my niece and nephew.
Oh.
And yes. So I did not meet them in May. I met them when they were born. But again, in the spirit of transparency, I don't see if there's an issue, but I just want to put that on the record of me voting on this particular item.
You are correct. There is no legal conflict of interest.
Well, with that, Ali, let me ask you the same question. You got your gavel in May. You've been ASB president for a few weeks now. Is it what you thought it was?
Yes, definitely. There are some things that I wasn't expecting, but it's definitely been fun, and I have such a great team with me this year, and we definitely had a great time so far. I can't wait to see what we're gonna do for the rest of the year. I just know that we're gonna do great things.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, absolutely. And part of that team is your twin brother. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Danny is her twin brother.
It's good to be a twin, bro.
Yeah. Donald,
got one.
Donald knows. It has been a short time, and again, I've heard a lot of fantastic things. You guys are really working hard. I know your schedules are I don't know how you do it with the time being on cheer and the football team, and I'm sure Isaac's going to tell us of a few other things that they're involved with. Isaac?
They are, and I won't bore you with the semantics. I actually wanted to actually publicly acknowledge a couple of members who talked about being a community effort. So we literally marched down Howard, getting, quote unquote permission of the business owners, talking to everyone from Starbucks to Bill Dawson at Round Table, and working our way all the way to the donut basket with the new owner and Cup of Joy. But one of those integral pieces was our PTA program, our PTA team at Madera High, and for better or worse, Mr. Wong was right there by my side every step of the way. So Mr. Wong's here in the audience today, and I can't thank him enough. Still trying to get him to do some village special for a fundraiser, but we're working on that. But Mr. Wong, thank you again for helping us, and he walks faster than it looks. So I got someone to keep up with me now.
Councilwoman Gallegos and myself know Mr. Wong very, very well. He is another proud member of the class of '85. There you go, Toby. Yeah. Fantastic. You have to come up to the podium to blurt that out, Debbie. Any other questions of the students of Madera High School? Anyone from the audience wishing to speak on this particular item? We're very, very proud of you guys, and I think that test at Howard Road with the World Champion Robotics was wonderful. There were so many people out there. Of course, proud of the robotics team, very proud of the school as well, and I think your efforts to go door to door and meet with the store owners and let them know what's going to happen, and working with our police department, logistically it's something new for us, but it's definitely doable, so it's going to be fantastic. I'm sorry, Councilwoman, did I?
Oh, Isaac took my thunder because I was going to mention Toby and everything, so.
You can. You still can.
Well, he announced he was here. I just wanted to make sure that he's not just rallying Madera High, he's rallying the parent clubs of all the feeder schools. So those parents, that he's getting them involved at John Adams and Lincoln and Washington, and moving them over to when they get to TJ to Madera High. And that's a bridge that we've never really had. So Toby, thank you for taking that time.
Absolutely.
It's not easily done, and you're going to make great strives for Madera High there. And you took my thunder, Mayor Medillin, by saying he's a graduate of the class of 1985. And if I'm not wrong, he was probably close to our top 10 too. Toby was very, very up there. So thank you for coming tonight. No.
Well, I want y'all to know I'm a graduate of '69. We're having our 5th year class reunion this year.
Wow. Very
Yeah.
nice.
For real. And we are Coyotes.
We helped the 68 last year, so if you need anything, they're rowdy.
If there's no more discussion, I will,
So move to approve item D2.
Second.
once again, it's been moved and seconded to approve item D2. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations and thanks again. We'll see you out there soon.
Isaac, you're going to be calling me, right?
Yes, sir. You text yet?
Huh? Sure do.
Millennials.
Moving on to item D3, this is discussion and direction of the Madera Downtown Association's request for $15,000 to be applied towards the crow abatement program. Mr. Copeland, it's good to see you again.
Yes, good to see you folks. My name is Steve Copeland. I reside at 1105 Valley Way, Madera, California, and I'm here on behalf of the Madera Downtown Association. So I want to say hello to Mr. Mayor and all the council members, and thank you for your time. As your mayor just explained, last year, as you may recall, the City of Madera, the County of the Madera, and the Madera Downtown Association contracted with the Avian Solutions to use falcons to disperse the crows from downtown. And it was a very successful program. everybody loved it. The downtown supported it, all the merchants. And this year, we'd like to continue. The problem we had last year was budgetary for the Madera Downtown Association. We have an annual income of about $20,000, and last year we put up 10, which just devastated us and left us in a loss for this year. First time ever in the downtown history that we came out in the red. So based on the new bid and everything else, I'm here to humbly request that the City Council support the project for $15,000 this year versus the $10,000 that was last year. So, if any questions, I'll be happy to answer them as best as I can.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. I know when we first entered into this agreement as a joint venture, on paper it seemed to work, the demonstration seemed to work, but it was our first time entering, and so the measure of success, I'm not sure where that bar was, but it seems like almost immediately they were gone.
They were gone. Initially, when the program starts, it has to be rather intensive.
Right.
With frequent flights. The proposal this year is for, I believe it's 90 flights, and it's going to continue through the month of, through March and April. The crows, the thing is with the crows, last year some of them that were harassed will remember. Crows are very smart birds, but they go out and have babies. And the new crows, the baby crows, the young crows, the fledglings, they don't know Madera is off limits. So we got to reinforce that with the falcon. They learn that there's a bad guy in town, and so they disperse. But it was very successful last year. The crows are already starting to amass in town.
Yeah.
You know, they're back.
Yeah. No, I think that was in the beginning. We weren't sure initially how many flights to do the first wave. Depending on that, we had discussed kind of a second wave. I'm gonna, Councilwoman Gallegos has a question.
So, Mr. Copeland, you're asking the partners of City Council and the County of Madera and the Downtown Association, did you get any bites out for any of the other businesses around to help donate
Yes,
in that area?
we're in the process of doing that. We have the Business Improvement District, but as you may recall, last year we expanded the flight area to include the police department, the post office. We broadened the courthouse park. The county this year has pledged $15,000 towards the program. And Mona Davey has, from the Downtown Association, has been out soliciting funds from businesses that are just outside or from banks and attorneys that are in the district that want to contribute more. Union Bank, I know, has pledged $500. Steve Mortimer is $100. We have commitments from 2 other businesses that will contribute into the program. So yeah, we're going to try and work and get additional funds if we can.
So have you contacted the post office to see if they would?
We have not. I have not yet contacted the post office. I do know folks there, and I will contact them. But I mean, they can't fix the lock on the door without permission from Washington, D.C., through San Francisco, through, you know. I've gone over and scraped the tape off the windows in the mornings.
I understand it,
But I
but
will ask them. I will ask them.
it's the council's been asked from the Madera County Arts Authorities to put money up for the Civic Arts Center. And we're being asked left and right. And this year, you're asking the city to come up with $5,000 more. Where we're in negotiations with our bargaining groups, and money is very tight. So that's why I'm asking if there are other outlets that you've looked at to kind of bring that number down, at least for us.
We are looking at the Gateway Corridor because they are out of the bid district, the Madera Downtown Business Improvement District. The La Quinta Inn last year was unable to participate because they had newly opened. We'll plan on talking to them, but there's a lot of businesses outside the BID area that we want to hit because they're benefiting from it. At one point, I talked to the Madera County Historical Society, and they're in great support of the project. And informally, just in conversation, they asked that I go back to their board and see if they would wish to participate. So we're hopeful we can get this stuff going. I'm sorry, I just haven't had the time.
No, I understand.
Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Member Dillon. Mr. Copeland, last year was an interesting year because not only did I learn about the falconers, and also the crows and their behaviors. So one of the questions that I have, and I think I asked you this question last year, is with respect to the crows and their behaviors after you chase them out, where are they starting to nest now? Whereabouts have we heard that they're now flocking to?
Well, the other night, I went down East Street, Northeast Street, and there were crows on the lines by the ice house. They're starting to come back in town. In the summer, they disperse. They'll go out into ag lands and up into the mountains. They're migratory in that respect, that they'll go up in the mountains and they disperse. But when the winter comes, they come back. They like the cities because of the warmth. Cities and their lights and stuff are 2 to 3 degrees warmer than out in the country. And the crows know this, plus prior to last year, weren't harassed. They could come and sit on the courthouse and all over the place, and nobody bothered them. But last year, we started the harassment, and like I say, it drove them, it dispersed them. We tried to force them over along the Highway 99 corridor and the eucalyptus trees, but the city of Portland has this program, and they're fortunate enough to have a 20-acre park in the middle of town, and they chase the crows there. Here, we don't have the resources. Howard Road, I have the prospect here, the bid, to include Howard Road this year. And the total cost for the downtown and Howard Road was $43,000. I talked to some of the merchants on Howard Road to see if there was any interest for them jumping in, because the Downtown Association, we can't pay for Howard Road. And there was kind of a lukewarm Save Mart parking lot across from my office. The crows congregated there, and Save Mart's solution was to go cut all the branches off. So they pruned the trees, and the crows went over to Pine Street. And I know some of those businesses probably aren't happy. But I don't have a solution for that this year.
Well, and reason why I ask is because we've already started something, and whether it be the harassment or not with these crows, I'd hate for us to stop immediately and at least give it a chance. I'm not sure as far as the amount, if that's something that the council feels comfortable with, but I'd figure this would be something that we can phase out, and maybe more public interest, more private interest, that could potentially help. I understand that to fund these programs, obviously it requires quite a bit of money. You're coming before us for $30-some thousand. I mean, not necessarily us in general, but with all the other agencies that are involved. My biggest concern is that, we allocate all these funds, and if we don't pursue it, then we're right back to square one. So, I mean, it was a nice show, lasers up and down, but at the end of the day, if we're not consistent with it and follow through, then I don't think that it's worthwhile. And I'm not sure if there's other tactics that we can utilize, but at this point, it seems like there was a lot of success within the downtown. I'd like to see that to continue. And as far as the funding goes, as our colleague had mentioned earlier, I think we're going through some budgetary phases here and negotiations. So I wouldn't be opposed to maybe lessening that amount, but certainly participate, because I know it's important to downtown. It's certainly important to the businesses down there, and that's one of the things that we want to see, is for the downtown to thrive. And obviously, chasing them crows away would be a start. So.
Thank you for those comments. Mayor Pro Tem Montes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question was, do we have a component as part of this that's a population control? Because I know members of the community were talking about that portion of it as well. And like you mentioned, the crows have babies. There's going to be more next year, and this number is going the wrong way, going up rather than down. So if we can get that component in there, I think it would be easier to see that the number's going up.
For population control?
Population control.
Well, crows are a migratory bird and they're protected by federal law. Now, ironically, there is a hunting season on them. You can shoot them. I think it's January 1st to the 21st. But as far as birth control and things of that sort, it would be pretty hard to do because the crows so disperse. They go all over the county. I've seen programs regarding the pigeons. That's another problem. And they do have a birth control program for pigeons, non-lethal. It's machines that are mounted on roofs, on timers, and they put this grain with the sterilant, and it periodically broadcasts the grain. Pigeons come and eat it, and after a while, the pigeons become sterile. They can still mate, but they don't have babies. I've never heard of a program for crows to decrease the population other than hunting them, shooting them. But not many people eat crow, so I don't think it's a real popular.
Not literally, anyway.
Yeah, it's not a real popular season.
Councilman
If
Garcia.
that answers your question, or?
Yeah, I mean, our hands are tied on that one, sounds like.
Councilman Garcia.
So I am impressed by I was skeptical at the beginning, but I am impressed by the effectiveness of this program. And although I tend to be fiscally responsible and somewhat conservative, I believe that being effective is going to help our community. It's going to help our community be healthier if we don't have that, if we don't have the infestation again. What I would propose, in addition to what you're doing, is that we provide a monetary contribution, but I would be also like to see staff make some outreach with our business communities also and assist you in the work that you're doing, and so that we can continue. Yeah. So I would like to see that, and also continue other methods, whatever research we can do to continue other methods. I think Councilman Gallegos had said that before, that there are alternatives, obviously, but if we can develop that partnership where we're working together to get the funding, then by all means, I would support that.
Councilman Garcia, I would welcome it. Any support we could get, that would be wonderful. We do have a flyer we've made up that we're soliciting to the private businesses and requesting basically partners. It's a partnership program, and for levels of $100, $500, and $1,000 that we want to hit the post office. Maybe they could be a $1,000 sponsor. And as again, I apologize, I just have not had time in the last couple of months to go out and work the program, and thank you, Mona, for doing so. Pardon? Oh, yeah.
As she comes up, I'm going to acknowledge Councilman Robinson. He has a question as well.
Yes, has the county board of supervisor been advised, because some of their buildings are affected?
The Board of Supervisors has agreed to pay $15,000 this year for the county portion, which would incorporate the courthouse park and their building, and the city council. We'd mentioned last year we expanded to the police department, even though that wasn't in the bid area, but we felt with the city's contribution, the police department should be included, and so we flew flights at the police department, so they didn't have to wash their cars so much. But
Mona Davey, I'm branch manager of Union Bank in Madera. And one thing before this started, if you go to downtown, you walk downtown.
Can you talk into the mic, please?
You'll see the mess. You'll see the crow mess everywhere. So this has definitely been a project that we worked on. It's been effective. Thank you so much for your donations. One thing I am working on is I am walking the streets, literally, to all of our merchants, Yosemite, D Street. I'm doing Gateway, all the way through AAA, Housing Authority.
AAA, La Quinta.
Yeah, I've been in contact with Madera Police Department as well, and I need to hit the post office. So definitely, we're trying to find funding for this. We do know that it is costly, but my downtown area is absolutely clean. So those of you who do walk into Union Bank or Wells Fargo, you will see that there is not a mess in downtown area. It was very unsanitary and unhealthy. It smelled. When it rained, you slipped on poop, literally crow poop. It was a mess. So this has been very effective. I am still walking streets, and I have done a lot of the promoting with the local businesses. So I'm going to continue to do that, and we know that it is costly, and we appreciate your help in this area, and we are getting our merchants involved. And that's what I am doing, is talking to merchants individually and business owners to get their in on this, because right now, you go to downtown, it's clean because it's out of sight, out of mind. They don't think about the crows. But if you're there and you've been there for a long time, you know that it's been a mess. So when I'm talking to the local business owners, they have been very receptive. I have some donations, which I'm very happy and pleased about, because they do notice that have been there for years. So it's effective, and I appreciate your help if you guys can contribute. 15,000.
And I'd like to add, Councilman Rodriguez, you're correct. If we stop the program now, basically we just threw money down a rat hole last year. I think we're going to have some continuity going forward. I wish there was something we could do to abate the population of them. I'm old enough to remember many, many years ago that actually, I believe it was the city police department that shot crows in the courthouse park. And that practice occurred for a couple times, and it was quite effective. But then there were other sentiments and complications that came up that said, no, don't do that anymore. So, and someday I'll probably be against the law to chase them with hawks or falcons.
Councilman Rodriguez.
I did want to add, Mr. Copeland and Mona, that our last meeting, we did approve for a grants writer for the police department. And again, being that this could be a public safety issue, I would advise that you get in contact with either our chief or Lieutenant Foss, and possibly seek some type of grant to help alleviate some of the funds. And this way,
Mentioned, yes.
I think that that could also definitely help the program, so that we're not having budgetary issues towards the end. And we can continue, like you said, we do need continuity. We want to continue this program because I think it will affect our downtown in a positive way. So I would advise that you seek that as well.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Councilman Robinson.
Yes, I was thinking maybe Housing Authority also could be consulted. Housing Authority.
Yes, that's on the list too.
Okay, and maybe another predator is like if we can put up owl boxes.
Oh, I've seen that before, so yes, the owls.
Step in. Debbie Bray, Madera Chamber of Commerce, and also member of the board for the Madera Downtown Association. We've had the owls, we've had the predatory bird noises and everything at the chamber office. And as Steve had mentioned, the crows are very intelligent, and in a very short amount of time, they realize we're just playing games, and they're back. One thing I do want to say to address Council Member Rodriguez's question also is that according to Integrated Avian Solutions, is with the consistency of a program like this over time, it will lessen the population. But as Steve had mentioned, with the new birds coming out, you still have to show them who's boss, so to speak, each year. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention and bring to light is that back when, and I can't speak for Public Works now, but back when the redevelopment agency had the graffiti abatement team and they did a lot of the cleaning of the downtown area because of the birds, I would be curious to know what the cost measures were, what is being saved to the city from not having to clean that, because, well, John, you know, because it consistently was having to be cleaned downtown because it was just horrible. If you go out and look at the sidewalks now, they're just now starting to be marked. But typically before the Old Timers Day Parade, about this time each year, they would already be covered, and we would have to make a request to have the streets cleaned before the parade, of course, and then after. So I just wanted to kind of make a point too. There is some savings, I would think, to the Public Works Department because the ongoing maintenance of cleaning off the unhealthy messes left behind by the crows is a cost-effective savings as well for the city. So we appreciate your recognizing this program and the positive outcome that it has had and can continue to have, and hope that you will agree to be partners with us again this year.
Thank you, Debbie.
And I did want to mention, I would like for Steve to quit apologizing that he hasn't had time, because I would like to acknowledge that he has put in a tremendous amount of effort on this program. The Downtown Association is not staffed. This is all done through the board members, and I think Steve has done a tremendous amount of work, so thank you, Steve. And Mona.
Yes. Councilman Garcia.
I just have one last question. The Measure K monies, I know Councilman Rodriguez mentioned Measure K as far as grant and maybe seeking grants. But is it possible to use Measure K money for this issue of safety and health from the outset, or do we have to budget that for next year and look into that?
It's up to the council to decide if Measure K can be utilized to help fund this program. Measure K was passed as a general tax, so it can be used for this program. With that being said, a previous council had indicated its desire to split Measure K between the fire department and the police department. I have interpreted that very literally, and I've made a commitment to both the fire department and the police department and this council that it would be a 50-50 split. With that being said, it is council's prerogative if you did want to allocate some potential funds for that. It's completely up to the council. To piggyback off a couple of items that Debbie did touch upon, last year we did see a significant decrease in bird droppings throughout the area. And simply a reminder for both the council and the community is that the city, there was a direct benefit because the city does own a decent number of properties within this area. City Hall being one of them, so there's a direct benefit there. The Chamber of Commerce building, the bus terminal across the street, the Housing Authority, which is, it's not a city-owned property, however, the City Council is the housing board, is responsible for that. The former successor, or the successor agency of the former redevelopment agency, and then the police department, not including all the sidewalks on the street. So again, so there's both an indirect benefit to the city and I think an indirect benefit to the city because a lot of our core facilities are located within the project area.
That's a good point, and I'm glad you brought that up. And Debbie, I'm glad you brought that up as well. That was the point I was going to make, and that as we talked about measured success, I think that was one of them. The maintenance, our public works employees that would clean the sidewalks on Monday, and by Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon, talk about money lost. The sidewalks was back to the way it was. And not only that, I want to talk about our partnership with the Downtown Association. I know the MDA has lost a few members, and we've had staff change here at City Hall, and so we're trying to rekindle that relationship. But over the years, it's been a great one-on-one partnership between the city and our Downtown Association. I would agree, Councilwoman Gallegos, she bring up some good points in partners. I've been downtown where there's the assumption that the sidewalks, whether it's bird droppings or otherwise, is the responsibility of the city, rather than maybe the responsibility of the business owner. And I would just think that pride in your store would be enough reason for you to want to help. So I would certainly encourage, Mona, thank you for your efforts to go door to door and meet with them and say, we're partners in this. Everybody benefits, especially your store. We want downtown to be our jewel. And so I think we have entered into that last year. As far as I'm concerned, that measured success, I honestly thought we may have to do this 2 or 3 times before we see what we see now. And it was really kind of the first go around. But it certainly would be money lost if we decide to cut back and we allow those birds to migrate back into our downtown area. Then we'll end up paying double next year when we should have invested this year. So yes, absolutely, money is tight with all of us. But talk about skin in the game, Steve. You basically are saying we spent everything we had and then some. And that's not a partnership I would like to see. With your outreach efforts and what the Downtown Association has done and is doing for our downtown, the last thing I want to see is you've invested everything into this, and now you have to come down here and ask for more money. I would say the additional monies and it's $5,000 additional. I don't think we can put an exact price tag on it, but our public works are downtown less. I think what our business owners and customers see, certainly on the forefront within a couple of weeks or months, we can put a price on that. And then even things like poor air quality or the dangers of slipping on a sidewalk. I think we've gained a lot of that with the original $10,000. So I certainly would like to continue this program and continue the partnership and just extend the outreach to as many business owners as we can. And again, small donations will work, will help. Because you're right.
And it's been positive.
Oh, it's been very well received. Immediately, there's been quite a few people, so much so that within a couple of weeks, I think everybody forgot about the Falcon program. If it didn't work, 2 weeks after we approved it, there would have been people here saying, what gives? When is it going to take effect? Yeah. And personally, I forgot about it. I forgot about it because there were little to no droppings and I didn't see the birds. So I think it's been very, very successful. Councilman Hawley has a question.
Yes, I've watched these birds over the years, how they messed up East Street right in front of the chambers. I go through there now, I can walk through there and park my truck. I mean, even over at the bus station, they're glad that they don't have all that poop and stuff laying around. We look at only a $5,000 increase, but look what we're saving elsewhere. We're making our business owners more happier. They're willing to stay downtown and still want to move because for years we heard a lot of complaints, a lot of itching. I don't think we want to stay here. They want to get out of the area. But now that they're knowing that something is being clean and people can walk down the streets and the parade is going to be much nicer without having to go out and spend thousands of dollars to clean it up the day before. So this $5,000 increase really helps us. I mean, we knew it was going to be an increase just like they do with the parades. It's no difference. Everything costs a little bit more. But if we want to make it happen, as Madeirans, we need to just keep supporting as much as we can. I'm not saying go out over the limit. I know this is our second year and it's only costing us an additional $5,000. But if they're going out door to door and trying to get businesses, maybe next year we might not have to spend as much as we did this year. So with my recommendation, I would like to approve the project as going forward for the additional.
Thank you.
That's the form of a motion. Is that right, Mr. Councilman?
Yes, sir.
I second it.
There's been a motion and a second. I will ask if there's any other discussion by council. I will ask if there's anybody else in the audience wishing to speak on this particular item. Please come forward. Seeing none, once again, we have a motion and a second to approve item D3. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thanks again, and we'll look forward to another report. We will attend the Downtown Association meetings as we can, and continue with the progress of getting rid of these birds once and for all.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members, and I'll give you a report perhaps maybe towards the holidays. We'll see what's happening then, and I'm sure I can arrange it, but if any of you would like to view or watch a flight, it's really something to behold. It really is, how those birds work and what the crows do to react. So let me know if you want to go out some night and fly a bird.
Thank you, Ms. Davy, as well. I appreciate it.
Excuse me, Mayor, can just point of clarification.
Yes.
The action item this evening was, or the item that was scheduled was simply for discussion and direction. What I would like to do based on council's direction this evening is at our October 4th meeting, bring back the item come with budget appropriations, and at that point, we could put it on the consent calendar. So based on council's direction, I'll place it on the October the 2nd meeting on the consent, come with kind of $15,000 appropriation if that's.
Thank you for that. I think the 7-0 was a clear indication on direction. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Yes, you may go.
We have 7 more items.
You may go.
Yeah, we've got 7 more items.
Debbie, thank you for your input. Yeah. Yes, you did. You got credit. Thank you. Moving on to hearings, petitions, bids, resolutions, ordinances, and agreements. Item C1, this is consideration of a resolution adopting a code of conduct for the Madera City Council boards and commission members. Mr. Rodriguez.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Ronaldo Rodriguez, City Manager. The item before you this evening, as soon as it comes up here, is consideration of a code of conduct for both the city council, the city's commissions, and its various boards. The actual draft code of conduct is intended to be just that, it's a draft. So this evening is the first time that council has considered this item. And it's simply for discussion purposes. However, the item has been agendized. So if the council did want to consider it and adopt it this evening, you can most definitely do that. Council may recall at our last meeting on September the 4th, in response to the Madera County Grand Jury report, one of the recommendations of the grand jury was that this council consider or adopt a code of ethics. In some communities, they refer to them as code of ethics, some call them code of conduct. Ours is somewhat of a hybrid approach to both. And so on the overhead right now, it mirrors the language directly from the grand jury report, which states by September the 30th, the city council will create and follow a code of ethics for all senior officials and elected members and display the code of ethics in a public place. For consideration for the council this evening, it would be a code of ethics for the council and the various boards and commissions, and then city staff will adopt a separate one at the city manager level as a city policy for senior officials. So in terms of background, I highlighted that, so I'm just going to pass right through it. So the draft code of conduct that's before the council this evening, Section 1 is a preamble. Section 2 there's an overview of ethics. Section 3 of the guidelines are conduct guidelines, and Section 4 is an implementation section. As council will note, there are approximately 4 pages, so it's not a very lengthy code of ethics. However, I can believe that there's a lot of good items in there. And again, this was taken from doing extensive research from other communities to see how they operate. And this, I believe, is a reflection of truly best practices from studying other communities. So the preamble is quite simply, this is not verbatim what's on the overhead. It's that good governance requires public officials be independent, impartial, and responsible to the people that have elected the council. That government can decisions and policy be made in the proper channels of the government structure, and that public officials do not use their positions for personal gain. In terms of the ethics, this would be Section 2. Again, it pertains to any elected official and the various boards and commission members of our community. So the top part, it says acts in the public interest, Roman numeral 2.1, that's reflective of the actual draft code of ethics, and I believe it starts, this will probably be the beginning part of page 1 on the cover page of the code of ethics, and it simply states the very first one, it's that members will work for the common good of the residents and not for private or personal interest. And again, I'm paraphrasing here, it's not verbatim. It's a draft only, so if the city council has, it's council's prerogative to change any of the language, to modify it, to amend it, to strike it, to elaborate, or to change it all around. Really, can the first attempt to draft a code of ethics for council consideration. Number 2, that members shall comply with the laws, and there's a litany of laws that apply. There's the U.S. Constitution, there's a California Constitution, there's fair political practices law, and then there's also adopted city codes and ordinances. Number 3, that members can be above reproach and avoid even the appearance of any type of impropriety, and that members shall refrain from abusive conduct, personal charges or verbal attacks upon the character or motives of others. Number 4, that members shall perform their duties in accordance with the processes and the rules as established by the city council or by the board that they're serving or the commission that they're serving. Number 5, that members shall prepare themselves for public issues, can listen to one another, to the public, to staff members, and that the members shall refrain from interrupting other speakers, shall also refrain from making personal comments, cannot germane to the business of the body itself. Number 6, that decisions be based on merit. So the members shall be based, can their decisions on the merits and substance of the matter at hand, rather than on unrelated considerations. Then number 7, can that the council avoid any conflict of interest. Those conflict of interest are stipulated by state law, which we discussed at the September the 4th meeting, and also to simply avoid the potential appearance of a conflict of interest. And that also that members can disclose any potential financial interest as required by law, and that they recuse themselves. Gifts and favors, ensuring that council members and again, board members, commission members disclose gifts and limit the acceptance of gifts as required by law, that's state law. Number 9, confidential information, ensuring that members are not disclosing any confidential that's disclosed. And a lot of that has to do with either personnel issues, financial issues, or private interest, anything that's being said in closed session. Use of public resources, ensuring that members not use public resources unavailable to the public in general, such as city staff time, equipment, supplies or facilities, or private gain or personal purposes. An example of that is hypothetically, if I say, hey, Public Works, can you and your team go mow my yard at my personal house? That's a pretty obvious one. But believe it or not, I've heard stories like that at a previous jurisdiction. So the representation of public interest, that members not appear on behalf of the private interest of third parties before the council or any board or commission or preceding the city. An example, there's a lot of examples that one can point to. For advocacy, which is number 12, that members shall represent the official policies or positions of the council as a whole, and that when presenting their individual opinions and positions, members shall explicitly state. So for example, if we have a council member that is before another body, and if they say, well, this is my opinion, however, they have already taken direction from the council, they should state the direction of the council as a whole rather than their own personal opinion. The policy role of the members, which is number 13, respect and adhere to the council manager structure, and that members cannot interfere with the administrative functions, and that the professional duties of city staff, nor shall they impair the ability of staff to implement council policy decisions. And an example of that is hypothetically if a council member were to approach a staff person at the city and say, well, this is what I want you to do because hypothetically you're mowing the yard incorrectly. If there are issues like that, then the code of conduct would say that you should approach the city manager, which is me in this case, and you would allow me to take it from there. The independence of boards and commissions, that the council shall refrain from using their position to influence the deliberations or outcomes of a board and commission proceedings. For example, if you had an opinion on a planning project, for example, or a land use entitlement that was going to go before the city council or the planning commission, you should refrain from speaking with the planning commissioners to try to tempt them or persuade them in any one direction. Well knowing that item probably has the ability or the potential to come before the city council for consideration. Number 15, positive work environment, making sure that members support the maintenance of a positive and constructive workplace for city employees. And again, that relates to, I believe it was number 12 or 13, that if the city council has an issue with the city employee, making sure that you're going through the city manager for discussion purposes rather than instead of going directly to the employee. So the conduct guidelines, which is section 3, there are 3 of these. So the very first one is conduct with one another. So this is making sure that the council, that you honor the role of the chair in terms of simply the processes that are established by the city council, and to practice civility and decorum in discussions and debate again with one another. Conduct in public meetings, so this is specific to the public, and in terms of how the council engages with the public, making sure that speakers are welcomed, that the council is being fair and equitable, that the council practice active listening, can maintain an open mind, and if there is an item that you would like clarification, making sure that you ask for the clarification, but also trying to avoid potential debates and argument with the public. And then the council's conduct with city staff, ensuring that you simply treat city staff as professionals, that you allow them to do their job. And again, that if there's any concerns about any type of performance, or if you have any comments about city staff, making sure that those go through the city manager. And then also to not solicit either political support or some other form of support from city staff. Because again, some of that, there's some laws that pertain to that, and that at the same time, it's also kind of disruptive to the workplace. The implementation, this is the enforcement part. This is section 4. The Code of Ethics and Conduct policy before you, it's intended to be self-enforcing. And self-enforcing really means that the council itself is enforcing this code of conduct with one another. So the other item that I'll add is that this should not be interpreted as a set in stone document. Rather, I think like all government documents, it should be treated as a living document. From time to time, it's always appropriate to consider it. I was a little reluctant to put an annual review on this, because it may be one of those things that we start reviewing it too much. However, at the same time, I think any time that there's a situation that arises that maybe this doesn't address, maybe that's the appropriate time to sit down, talk about it collectively in public, and say, well, you know what, maybe this is an opportunity for us to discuss it, to rethink it, to make sure that we're going to kind of recalibrate the entire thing. Again, treating it as a living document, making sure that it's reflective of contemporary practices by both our community and some of our surrounding communities. So again, this is simply a draft? Oh, I'm sorry, and I left another part. In terms of distribution and posting, one of the items from the grand jury said that it would be posted, and we are committed to ensuring that our elected officials and our board members actually receive it. You sign acknowledging that it's been received, and then we would also post it on our website, making it available for the community to review. And then also it will be available at the city clerk's office. And in terms of sanctions, the council may impose sanctions on members whose conduct does not comply with the Code of Ethics. However, a violation shall not be considered a basis for challenging the validity of a council, board, or commission decision. So hypothetically, if there's a debate about it, and if the council elects to adopt an action item, and if a council member felt, or if the council as a whole felt as though a council member potentially violated the Code of Conduct, but it's not a violation of an adopted ordinance or state statute, then that would not invalidate the decision-making process or the outcome of that decision. So again, it is self-enforcing. And I touched on this a little bit because I jumped the gun. That Code of Conduct shall be reviewed as deemed necessary by the council. So again, it should not be interpreted as this is your only opportunity. I think this was the first stab at it. If the council does adopt it this evening, we can always revisit it in 6 months to make sure that it's appropriate. We can come back during 90 days. In 1 year, it's completely up to the prerogative of the council, but it truly should be treated as a living document. So with that being said, staff's recommendation is to adopt the draft Code of Conduct as presented. However, with that being said, the council may provide feedback. We can come back at a future date. You can request clarification, modifications. We can elaborate. We can consolidate. It's really up to the council.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Councilman Rodriguez has a question.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Medina. I think more of a comment, City Manager, to you and your staff. I know it's been a long journey to get to this living document that you call. Bad in a way that it took a grand jury report to highlight some of the deficiencies that we had, but it's a good thing that we always have room for improvement. And we reacted on that, and you and your staff responded quite quickly, and here we are now with this living document. Although we abide by the municipal code as a business entity, I think that this document would definitely help as a tool for us as council members and members of this business to govern ourselves. I would advise, and I hope that my colleagues would agree, that we do bring this back annually, only to revise it if need be, or maybe modify, add, delete. But I think it's important for our governing board to be able to reflect on what's on there, the Code of Conduct, and why we're here as electeds. So I think it's important, because any other policy can be a good policy, but if it's just collecting dust, and it's something that we can reference to 10, 15 years down the road. But again, I think it's important for us to continue to bring this out on an annual basis. And as electeds come and go, it's a good opportunity for them to also learn a role that we play as a collective unit and as an individual as well. So I want to commend you and your staff for responding to that and putting something like this together. I'm sure you had help of our legal counsel. So I also want to thank you, Hilda, for bringing this together. I think this is something that's long overdue, and I'm glad to say that we have this in our, as a policy, that a living document that we can visit every year. So thank you again.
Thank you for your comments. Any other questions of Mr. Rodriguez? Anyone from the audience wishing to speak on this particular item, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for any recommendation or action.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to approve agenda C1 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item C1. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. And
So just one point of clarification. Did the motion include Councilmember Rodriguez's suggestion that this come back annually?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Council, I also wanted to underscore that this, as described, this is a tool. It's something to govern with and through, and we will be getting into a lot more of the details and the formalities when we have the AB 1234 training that everyone's invited to.
Has that date been set yet, Hilda? Okay, thank you.
moving on to item C2, this is consideration of a resolution approving the 2018-2019 CDBG Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report and Financial Summary. Ms. Iareta.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Medillin, City Council members. This is a public hearing to solicit public input on the city's CAPER report. Before I go any further, I'd like to make a Spanish language announcement. We want to encourage participation and comply with language access and comply with HUD's request. So, es una audiencia pública referente a un reporte anual a la Agencia Federal de Vivienda y Desarrollo Urbano. Si alguien necesita traducción del inglés al español, por favor, alzar su mano en este instante. Very good. Let me see. I'm so sorry. I have the wrong. How did that happen? My apologies. This is our request for council to approve a resolution to submit our CAPER report to HUD. What is the CAPER? It is the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. This is a HUD requirement for CDBG-funded agencies. It is an annual requirement that we need to comply with. The CAPER overall reflects the city's performance on its annual CDBG action plan. It requires citizen participation, and for that, staff published a notice inviting written comments and inviting the public to this public hearing. The deadline to submit written comments was Friday, September 13th, and we did not receive written comment on the CAPER, on the draft of the CAPER. It provides HUD with data regarding the individuals that have been served this past year, the activities performed, and what outcomes were achieved. So we all know that federal agencies are notorious for collecting data, and HUD is no exception. It is volumes of data on statistical data on the individuals. So this is what subrecipients are tasked with every year, to collect data about income, data about race, and it is burdensome, and it is why some small agencies may not want to participate in CDBG funding, but it is required. Overall, this is the city's standing. We have a balance of approximately $2 million on the books. This includes allocations since 2014-2015 fiscal year. And this is a distribution along the years.
In 2018, 2019, we did draw almost $250,000, a little bit over $250,000. There were some challenges in doing a final draw during the final quarter, and I'll explain that in a minute under challenges. But let me start with some of the major accomplishments that happened this last year. The CDBG action plan assisted 10 homeless families. This includes 27 persons in total that were in a state of homelessness, and they were sheltered. They received temporary shelter, and some of those persons were able to transfer into permanent housing. So it made a significant impact in their lives. Supported the Park Suite of Senior and Meals and Wheels program, serving 467 unduplicated individuals. And overall, it provided 16,000 meals in 1 year. Again, Park staff has explained that this is a very important program for the community. It's not only serving meals, but connecting seniors with other seniors, providing an array of services and educational programs and social programs. So again, 467 individuals served this last year. Increased access to scholarships for higher education to 34 youth. Again, this is in 1 year. 27 being low to moderate high school students. And issued one small business loan in the amount of $125,000 for the Sugar Pine Smokehouse restaurant. This was an allocation that happened years and years ago. I just don't recall the exact year, but it is a revolving loan program, so there's always some funding available for a small business loan, and it's exciting when a loan closes and a new business hits the ground. Completed installation of the flashing beacons at Virginia Lee Rose Elementary School. This was requested by parents of the students attending this school. So again, CDB funding being used to serve the priorities that are being requested by residents. And completed the installation of a new roof at Millview Community Center. So all these
Those are major accomplishments. All very,
happened
very good. Mhm.
during this last year. This is just a portion of the accomplishments. We can talk about other agencies, but I'll leave it at that for now. Nevertheless, the program does not operate without some challenges. This past year, we had no authorized staff to approve final year CDBG expenses, so that did impact our last quarter drawdowns. It takes some time for HUD to approve another staff, so we submitted the request to get another staff member approved. That finally did take place, and we were able to do another draw, but it wasn't before the June 30th cutoff for the books. Our environmental review processes need to change for compliance. So we do have a finding on our environmental review of capital projects particularly. We are preparing a response to HUD and discussing how to improve those requirements for upcoming years. So it's under review. We do need to improve on that. Doing more capital projects bring up a need to restructure financial and programmatic internal controls. So we haven't had a lot of experience overall with capital projects under CDBG funds. That is relatively new, and therefore we need to be more compliant with financial and programmatic internal controls. Again, staff has already started working with finance and is structuring the program a little bit different. And then this last year, we didn't have enough administrative funds to offer more technical assistance
for public serving agencies. Would have been nice to have had some workshops on submittal of the invoicing, submittal of quarterly reports, how to align activities to address the priorities, HUD priorities. All of that would have been, I think, helpful, but we didn't have that funding for those purposes this past year. So HUD uses the CAPER, our annual CAPER, to evaluate the city. HUD considers cities' challenges in addressing consolidated plan priorities. In other words, if we're not meeting the consolidated plan's priorities, but we have reasonable explanations, that is considered. The evaluation of cities' CAPER is based on overall, they're looking as to whether or not we are delivering positive performance outcomes. And they are evaluating the city's timeliness. So based on our drawdowns, our reimbursements for CDBG expenses, that is measured on an annual basis, and we have to have a certain ratio. Otherwise, HUD will potentially reduce our funding. And also, it evaluates submittal of action plans and CAPERs that are required and whether or not they are timely. If not, HUD may issue findings. So we haven't had findings in regards to submittal of CAPERs or our action plans, at least in recent years. With that, I want to request that council open the public hearing, and I can answer questions either now or at the end of the public hearing.
Thank you, Yvette. Would you mind going back to that last slide? And we had lengthy discussion about positive performances and timeliness. I know in your office at this time it gets overwhelming, but I don't want to assume anything. Is this evaluation, the CAPER, based on those performances that HUD measures, that we measure as a city? And do the entities that receive the money, do they give us a follow-up report as far as those outcomes, those measurable outcomes?
So yes, we collect the information from their quarterly reports. And that's the information that we use to input it into the CAPER. And then CAPER tabulates the data, and we have to do a lot of narratives and explanation. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
Well, you are, and actually, I'm alluding to another question that you had mentioned too, that I know admin money is tight, and we didn't have additional admin money, but we somehow, some way, have to be very aggressive in the beginning to let the applicant know just how important it is to fulfill their duty when it comes to application process, measurable outcomes, that they too are part of this process that could potentially cost us money. We will do and are doing our part. I just want to make sure that we need to find the funds somehow, some way to have those workshops and let the applicants know just how important it is to meet deadlines, to meet timelines, and to understand that after the money is given, it doesn't end there. It's the positive, measurable outcomes is that we're looking for. So that's really what I'm alluding to.
I understand. And for this year, we did request more administrative funds, and council did direct staff to do some more TA, technical assistance, for the subrecipients.
Good. Any other questions from council? This is a notice public hearing. I will ask if there's anybody in the audience wishing to speak on this particular item. Please come forward. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to council for any further discussion or action.
So move to approve item C2 as presented.
Second. It's been properly moved and seconded to approve item C2. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item C3, this is consideration of a resolution authorizing submittal of a grant application to the California Department of Housing and Community Development for receipt of Senate Bill 2, SB 2. This is Planning Grants Program funds in the amount of $310,000. Yvette,
Good evening again.
good evening.
This is again another request to council to approve a resolution authorizing the submittal of a grant application to the state of California under the SB 2 funding. Senate Bill 2, under the Senate Bill 2 Planning Grants Program. What is SB 2? In 2017, former Governor Brown signed a 15-bill housing package aiming to address the state's housing shortage and high housing cost, deemed a housing crisis at that time. SB 2 aims to provide funding and technical assistance to all local governments in California to help cities and counties prepare, adopt, and implement plans and process improvements that streamline housing approvals and will eventually accelerate housing production, particularly affordable housing production. The State Department of Housing and Community Development released a notice of funding availability on March 28th of this year and indicated that there is $123 million across the state for this program. The funding that can be applied for is calculated based on the size of the jurisdiction. For example, small localities can apply for a maximum of $160,000, and those over 60,000 in population can apply for a maximum of $310,000. So we just made that threshold and can apply for a maximum of $310,000. We do not have to. The minimum grant award is for $25,000. So what does SB 2 provide and what is Madera's application for? The program will provide grants through a non-competitive over-the-counter process for eligible local governments, cities, and counties. City of Madera intends to apply for the full $310,000. The City of Madera Planning Department proposes to use the funding for the creation of the North Madera Master Plan, encompassing 1,906 acres of land located within the city's general plan sphere of influence directly north of the city limits. And to talk a little bit more about that proposal, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Chris Boyle.
Thank you, Yvette, Council, Mayor. I'm going to sneak ahead through this to right here. Let's remember that planning staff has presented 2 workshops to you as it relates to annexations. Our first workshop some time ago, and in advance of many of the council members that sit today, we talked holistically about the advantages and disadvantages of an annexation strategy, and we looked at the city overall. We followed that up by focusing a workshop that all 7 council members were participants within as it relates to North Madera. And we basically did a strengths and weaknesses, opportunities, a SWOT on this particular area of town. Let's recall that there are a lot of beneficial events occurring in North Madera. We have the high school going in. We have an extension of services to that area. We have opportunities to take advantage of those wet utilities. Council might recall we're also working on a water storage facility in that area of town. We have 9-acre park donated to the city, or working towards a donation of that park space. And we have many parcels that have expressed an interest or signed a waiver to annexation or to opposition to annexation. There's a lot of energy going on in North Madera. To that end, we've also taken a 20-acre annexation to LAFCO through resolution of the council, and that includes a 61 lot subdivision that's being proposed, and we're working with that application now that they're in the city limits. More than that, there are multitude of projects that are proposed in this particular area. Looking first where the 1A is, that's where our high school facility is, and just immediately north of that, there's a request by our property owner for a 93-unit apartment complex. The city has wet utility in the street. That applicant can't apply for annexation because his properties don't abut to the city limits. That would take an application of the city for annexation of that area to take advantage of the developability of that property. I'm working right now with an individual over here where the 2 is on a 40-acre subdivision, and much to my, perhaps not to my surprise, but the local property owner hears this individual has been working with the city about a subdivision that would lead to annexation, and they come in and meet with me, and ultimately they want their properties, which are to the immediate east of that property, not to be omitted from any annexation of that area. That time we meet, we speak to them that we'll be bringing this item directly to the council, and that it's our hope to file an application for grant monies that would lead to an annexation of this area. So we also have another 120 acres far to the north of within the city that that property owner would like to move forward with developability of that property, and let's remember our park space is kind of at the heart of it all. That 9-acre park space that we're very hopeful that ultimately will be donated to the city.
Chris, quick question. Yes. Back to 1A where the high school property is. Are you saying that little corner to the upper left of 1A is a proposed or possibility of multifamily? In that corner that I see the black box around, or where?
Right there? Yes.
Which is abuts against 26.
Yes, it does.
Is it zoned?
That area currently is zoned for low-density residential, and it has a consistent, well, we don't have it zoned. It's not in the city limits.
Right,
its general plan is for low-density general plan, low-density residential development.
We can talk later about it. I was under the assumption that along 26, it was more of a commercial retail zoning.
The properties on the west side of 26 are currently zoned in the county as commercial properties. They're significantly developed along those lines. If annexed into the city, zoning would be reflective of the existing land use, a commercial designation. You know, we wish that there were raw lands in and around the high school. Schools don't generally like to have commercial directly abutting to them. They can pose a nuisance to the student body, and especially if there's a closed campus. But in the case of that property right there on the east side of 26, that's currently residentially zoned by the county, and our general plan mimics that. So that applicant would like to move forward with a higher density project to capture its proximity to the high school, and per our general plan, that would be something we would consider as being consistent with the goals and policies general plan if the property were in the city limits. That applicant can't move forward with annexation again because they don't abut to the city. It would take a city annexation to reach out and capture that property.
Thank you for that.
So that said, there's a lot of energy right now towards, and desire that continues to be expressed by the citizens that live in this area and the individual property owners that propose development on parcels, a significant number of parcels in this particular area. With that said, staff brings to you a grant that proposes the North Madera Master Plan. The Master Plan is a tool that could be utilized towards subsequent application for pre-zoning and annexation of these areas. I note the pre-zoning. A pre-zoning is a requirement of any application for annexation. Properties must be pre-zoned in advance of an application being submitted to LAFCO. As a component of the master plan effort, the city would look also at any potential general plan amendments that might better provide for consistency with the goals and policies general plan. The area is significantly general planned as a low-density general plan land use designation. The general plan asks the city to look at residential development that has a mixture of densities that function in close proximity to one another. So this would be an opportunity to set that table for a little additional density as a component of any master plan. I would note too that the purpose of the grant would be to provide for a pathway towards accelerated housing productivity, and at the same time promote affordability. So mixtures of housing types provide for mixtures of affordability at the same time. So we think that our consultant may see opportunities to provide for general plan amendment within that master plan. Our general plan requires that a public facilities financing plan be incorporated within any large-scale annexation in our villages, and this area incorporates, or we'll be studying at least 2 villages, Village C and Village G, which are the 2 largest villages to the north of the current city limits. And we'd like the consultant to really look at and explore an annexation strategy that will ultimately provide for successful annexation or annexations. So we may look at this as a phased or a scaled approach to annexation in north areas based on the findings of the master plan moving forward. And along with that, we'd be looking for supporting environmental documentation that we could ultimately utilize within the annexation process. Now, this is a tall order for $310,000, and so we think that that our proposal, our RFP, is going to need to look at the opportunity to scale a project to meet those dollars, or at the same time, the city may look to find additional funding sources if the time seems right and the cost benefit is there. But we think that $310,000 is something that we can utilize in a positive way, and we want to move with a sense of urgency as it relates to that, because if there's a quirk in the funds, it's that there's no timeline for spending them, and they'll be available annually. So if you connect the dots, it's not too far of a stretch to say to yourself, you want to be one of those agencies that has expended all of those funds in a year's time, because if other agencies haven't expended those funds, and funds are available, perhaps Madera might be able to capitalize on additional funds next year and in years to follow. So with funding by the state, we would move with purpose in releasing an RFP and moving through the consultant selection process to aggressively go about developing this master plan as a tool for annexation of areas to the north of the current city limits. And with that said, staff would recommend positive action on a resolution to submit the application to the state. That completes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions of Mr. Boyle regarding item C3? Anyone from the audience wishing to speak or have any questions? We swing for the fences. Ask for all $310,000. Absolutely, absolutely. And you're right. There are, as you know, a lot of people who apply and are awarded, and they kind of sit on it. That's not going to be us. We will put this to use as quickly as possible, and then put our hand out and ask for more. Yeah, great call, Chris. Great job, Yvette, on this application. If there's no further questions or discussions, I'll call for action on item C3.
Mr. Mayor, with the sense of urgency that Mr. Boyle had presented, I move that we approve item C3 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded 3 times. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item C4.
Mayor and council members, Victor Aldama will present the next couple presentations, and Ellen Bitter will follow up with the last one.
Fantastic. Sounds like a great 1-2 punch. Victor, it's good to see you. Item C4 is a consideration of a resolution approving the award for the 2018-2019 City Street 3R and ADA project, state project number, and it's lengthy. I can go on, Victor, if you're still working on that.
No, I'm good.
This is city project number R70 in the amount of $476,200.
Right, I'm ready.
You're on.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and members of the public. My name is Victor Aldama. I'm here tonight representing the engineering department for two items, for item C4 and item C5. The first one will consist of the project 2018-2019 City Street 3R and ADA project, also known as city project number R70. The second one will consist of SB1 RMRA 2018-2019 Seals and Overlay project, also known as city project number R76. Both of this project are similar type project consisting of seals and overlay. We would primarily put those two in the same category. All the location are selected based and compared based on existing road condition and are either categorized as a seal or overlay. These types of measures are implemented to avoid further repair, further and more expensive repair damages. Okay. The first one I'm going to present is going to be the 2018-2019 City Street 3R and ADA project. History of the project was advertised back in July 27th and opened bids on September 3rd. There were 4 bids received by the city. Avison Construction, Inc. submitted the lowest responsive and responsible bid. A quick background of the project is this project is funded with $180,000 of local partnership program funding, which is part of the SB1 fund or Senate Bill 1. As part of the LPP fund, it requires a 50% match from the city. The matching portion comes from Measure T RTP Rehabilitation and Reconstruction Fund, which equates to $372,000, $392. We typically use this type of funds for similar type projects for reconstruction, road rehabilitation projects. So this is a win-win situation. Staff recommends tonight that the City Council award the project to Avison Construction in the amount of $76,200. If council approves the award tonight, the anticipated completion date for this project is November 2019. Here's a location map. The green lines represent the base bid for this project. For tonight's meeting, we are requesting that the council approves the base bid. The lines highlighted in red are bid alternates that are not recommended for approval for tonight's meeting due to lack of funding. Just a quick background, we typically add bid alternates to our projects in hopes that the bidding economy or the bidding climate, it's under the anticipated cost, and therefore adding more projects and better bang for our buck. However, for this project, the base bid satisfies whatever funding availability we have currently at the moment. In conclusion, staff recommends that City Council award the project to Addison Construction in the amount of $76,200. Any questions?
Victor, thank you very much. Any questions of Victor regarding item C4? We've worked with them before.
Yes.
They've done plenty of projects for us before in the city.
That's correct, and I believe they're local. They're from Madera. So.
Yeah, I was going to mention. Thank you for mentioning that. And if I remember right from one of your last reports, they did it they met the deadlines.
Correct.
They did a great job. Anyone from the audience wishing to speak on this particular item, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for action on item C4. I know you touched a little bit on C5. We'll get there in just a second, but this is for item C4 only.
Move to approve item C4 as presented.
Second.
Got you.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item C4. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries unanimously. You're on a roll, Victor. Now C5.
All right, moving on to C5. C5 consists of the contract award for SB1 RMRA 2018-2019 Seals and Overlay Project, again also known as City Project Number R76. Again, history of this project, the project was advertised back in July 27th and opened bids in September 5th. There were 2 bids received by the city for this project. Emmett's Excavation, Inc. submitted the lowest responsive and responsible bid for this project. Quick background, the funding source for this project consists of $1.1 million from RMRA, or also known as Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Account. There is also proposed to be added an additional $263,000 from our Measure T LTP Street Maintenance Account. I'll get back to that in a little bit later in the slides. The total anticipated costs for this project will be roughly around $1,334,000. It is staff recommendation for tonight's meeting that council approves the award to Emmett's Excavation in the amount of $1,204,493.40. If approved tonight, the estimated completion date is also November 2019. Here's a map representing the locations of the project. As noted earlier, the green represents the base bid. It is staff recommendation tonight that the base bid is awarded. In addition to the base bid, it is also recommended that 6 new street segments be added as part of a change order, as noted on the yellow highlights below, right? That where it says Stadium Road, that's supposed to say Madera Avenue, right east of Madera Avenue and Gary Lane. The existing condition of that road segment is deteriorating at an accelerated rate. Therefore, it is a staff recommendation that City Council adds this project as part of this contract. Okay, just a quick addition to that. The street segments proposed to be added would replace the street segments under bid alternate 2 as shown on the blue section on the east portion of the map. Just to give you an idea on how the street segment around at Gary Lane is currently at, you could clearly see it's very deteriorated. If we wait any further, it's going to get even worse. This is part of the Tierra subdivision, just so an FYI.
Victor, I'm sorry, just 1 minute if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Montes has a question.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, Victor, do you know what that is due to? Is that just, because it doesn't look like an older area.
Yes, I can elaborate a little bit to that. Basically, the street segment on that road, it's very thin. It was part of a subdivision that was constructed 15 years ago. I don't know the further details to it. If Keith would like to elaborate a little bit on that, then that would be good.
It is in fact part of a subdivision that was constructed. It was, I went back and looked at the dates before we came in here. It was approved about 12 plus years ago. Actually, the tentative map was 2006, May of 2006. I believe it went to construction 2008 or so. When it went in, the design called for typical city cross-section or structural section on the roadway. It looks as though the pavement went down thinner. Don't know how that went in that way. Obviously, it shouldn't have gone down that way. But it's generally been okay for many years. But and I say generally okay. It hasn't been fantastic. But when one of the local developers came in and built the remaining some of the houses within the subdivision, the construction equipment weared on the road more than we would have liked. So what we had is the road started deteriorating. The developer did agree to go ahead and make minor corrections to the pavement because it was noted that the pavement did have concerns, but it quickly became apparent that this was more than the developer had agreed to do. Because of its condition, we moved it into the next cycle of the RMRA funds, which would have come due about 8 months or so from now. But given the most recent observations of the pavement, it made sense to move forward now with it. On that basis, we'd like to go ahead and switch out these roads with one of the other alternates, fix the roadway up so it's closer to new, and move forward. These roads, again, they were included in the next cycle for RMRA, so what we're doing is that we're moving it forward. We're using Measure T funds to take care of it, and in the end, it'll be a wash in terms of costs, although the city never expected that road or that subdivision to do that.
Councilman Garcia.
This certainly is a cautionary tale of how we are conducting business here, in that this slipped by. You said that it had to have a standard, and obviously they didn't conform to that standard back in the day. And so this is a cautionary tale for us as we move forward, due diligence to ensure that we don't have this kind of construction and our inspection is adequate to make sure this time, because at the end of the day, we're paying for something that was a mistake by someone, although it will deteriorate further but over time. But if they had done their job.
Very, very definitely. I totally agree with that observation. One of the things when they're under construction, at that point in time, we were still in the throes of heavy-duty construction moving everywhere just before the recession was going to set in. So crews were probably overloaded at that time, and the inspector wasn't able to catch that. I don't know who did it, but it. We've seen that sort of stuff in the past, and when it gets caught, if it gets put in and you think it's happened, we've actually had, before I became city engineer, the previous city engineer he'd actually go ahead and have cores of the pavement done to try to find out whether there was problems with it, and he'd be prepared to have it torn out if necessary or overlaid.
Okay, I would like to continue then.
Sure.
Just like Keith mentioned, this is actually programmed in the 2019-2020 RMRA budget. However, we're just moving it forward in this case. All right, in order to mitigate the condition for Terra Vista, we're proposing to appropriate an additional $263,000 from our Measure T street maintenance account. And that's part of the second resolution under tonight's item. So in conclusion, staff recommends that City Council awards the project to Emmett's Excavation in the amount of $1,201,493.40. I'm opening it up. I had to prepare a quick second map representing of all the locations, just for everybody to see all the work that's going to be completed as part of these two projects. So, all right, opening up for questions.
Thanks again, Mr. Aldama. Any questions of Victor regarding this item? Anyone from the audience wishing to speak, please come forward. This really goes to show our Measure T funding and SB1 funding, just how important it is in the city and county of Madera. I know there was some controversy and scrutiny, but to the tune of the three entities, the city of Madera, city of Chowchilla, and the county of Madera, on an annual basis garners close to $10 million. Of that, our portion at the city, I think the meeting we had today was a little over $2 million that's used for different projects. And there is no other board I serve on that has so many things that we have to remember when it comes to these different pots of money. Yeah, this is exciting that we can continue to draw on these funds, use Measure T funding, and get things like this done. Things that sometimes are overlooked.
Definitely.
That obviously make our city look very, very well, from streets to sidewalks.
Definitely. Yes.
If there's no other conversation, I will call for action on item C5.
I so move to approve C5 as presented.
Second.
No way to jump in there. It's been properly moved and seconded to approve item C5. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Victor. Great job. Moving on to the bottom of the eighth and item C6. This is consideration of a resolution approving the First Amendment to the agreement with Census USA, Inc. for advanced metering infrastructure services. And there's a second part, consideration of a resolution amending the City of Madera's fiscal year 2019-2020 budget in the amount of $10,300 for advanced metering infrastructure services. Mr. Scarborough.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Thank you again. The item before you tonight is the consideration of a resolution approving a software upgrade to the city's water meter software system. Always find that hard to say for some reason. The company hosting the software is actually the company that developed it, that's Census. The city purchased Census FlexNet AMI system in 2010 to provide data collection from approximately 14,000 city water meters. In 2015, the Census software was upgraded to the Logic system. Census now recommends that the software be upgraded to the new Analytics system. The Analytics system has several advantages over the Logic system. Analytics is an application-based software that is easy to navigate. Analytics is a Census product that is fully supported by Census technical support staff. Analytics will be continually updated. The upgrade to Analytics will allow the meter reading software to be fully integrated with the city's new utility billing system. This connection will allow the city to more efficiently gather water usage readings for the billing process. The annual fee for Census is $28,000. This includes $18,000 for hosted services and software support and $10,000 for the base station extended warranty. These are ongoing charges. Spread over approximately 14,000 metered accounts breaks down to approximately 17 cents per month per account. The ongoing cost of $28,000 is included currently in the fiscal year 1920 budget. The cost for the software upgrade is a one-time cost of $10,300. This includes the following: the setup fee of $2,400, the standard integration of $5,400, and training on the analytics system of $2,500. Grand total, obviously, $10,300. Staff recommends a budget amendment to be made to transfer these funds from the water unallocated fund balance in order to cover this one-time cost. I'm available to answer any questions.
John, thanks very much. Mayor Pro Tem Montes has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John, does this, or will this facilitate a user interface? I don't know if that's something that I don't believe we already have.
We don't have it currently, and this particular upgrade does not include that portal, but it does make it available to us in the future. So this software is compatible with a end user portal.
That's something we can add in the future.
We can add it in the future.
Right. Good question. Any other questions of Mr. Scarborough? Anyone from the audience would love to speak on this item? I'm sorry, if you could come to the podium, please.
So you were saying this, the software was upgraded with 14,000 residents?
Yeah, that's our utility billing department reported out that we have approximately 14,000 metered accounts, not 14,000 residents.
So
meter to council.
Right, that are automatically read.
Thank you.
Okay, so I was just looking at the amount. If it's about 14,000 and it's 10,000, so it's going to be about less than 1,000 for each of those residents.
Less than 1,000.
Or, sorry, no, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you for that question. And if there's any further, you can certainly reach Mr. Scarborough at the city.
I was about to pull out my calculator.
You can pull the calculator out. Anyone else from the audience wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for action.
So to move to approve C6 as presented.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve both sections of item C6. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much for that. Moving on to the bottom of the ninth and item C7, I will be recusing myself on this particular item since the applicant is a customer of mine at my business. I will now hand the gavel over to Mayor Pro Tem Montes.
And just for clarification, the reason he can recuse himself and that you can move forward with this contract is because the customer has been his customer for more than 5 years prior to his becoming an elected official. There's a specific remote interest exception under Government Code 1091.
Thank you, Ms. Montoya, for that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And switching over to me, we're going to say this is a 2-minute warning because we're going to do the football analogy instead. So, item C7, consideration of a resolution approving award of contract for alley paving, various locations, city project number ALY02, federal project number CML 5157109 in the amount of $655,291.38 for base bid plus add alternate number 4 to asphalt design by Juan Gomez and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement. And that is not Keith, I'm sorry.
And that would be an authorize the Mayor Pro Tem to execute the
Okay,
agreement.
authorize, okay, we
In
changed
this
that.
case.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. Ellen Bitter with the engineering department. And we've been very busy in our department, and tonight's project is brought to you by the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Grant Funds provided by the Madera County Transportation Commission. Those funds are for projects that improve air quality, and this particular project benefits by reducing the fine particulate matter that's generated by our unpaved alleys. We have a long list of unpaved alleys within the city, and in order to best utilize these CMAQ funds, we generated a master list that, and then we prioritize those items based on those alleys that carry the most traffic, that have more properties that take access off of the alley, and for the most part are developed on both sides of the alley. Otherwise, there's a good chance a developer could come in and finalize an alley paving project. We came up with a list of a bid plus 4 alternates to try to, as Victor mentioned, capture any potential cost savings if it's a competitive market and any fluctuations in the bidding market. And I also want to note that we have another project in our CIP for future alley paving, and there is going to be another call for projects for the CMAQ program, of which these alley paving projects are very competitive. They are have a high benefit cost ratio, a lot of emissions reduced or particulate matter that is reduced for the dollar spent. I do want to note that in order to maximize our CMAQ dollars and with the purpose of just mitigating the air quality issues, these projects do not do a full alley improvement project, which would be property line to property line with a concrete valley gutter down the middle. We are trying to just mitigate the drive path of either the garbage trucks or people entering and exiting their residences or places of business. If we were to do a full alley paving improvement, it's about $150,000 to $200,000 per alley. So this way we were able to stretch the project, and for what we're recommending, we're able to achieve 15 alleys with this project. This map represents our original bid. We had 18 alleys included in the bid. 14 are in the base bid, and then we had 4 bid alternates. For the same reason as Victor mentioned, we can establish a base bidder or an award to a contract, and then however the dollars are spread best, we can pick and choose which alternates get added to that. In this case, just simply because of the dollars available, alley alternate 4 was less cost than alternates 1, 2, and 3, so we are recommending moving forward with the base bid, which is the 14 original alleys, plus the what's called alley alternate 4. We received 4 bids on August 29th, and the company known as Asphalt Design by Juan Gomez submitted the lowest responsible and responsive bid. The budget for the construction phase of the project is $775,000, and so that is how we determined how many alleys we could award with this project. The matching funds, there is a approximate 12% match that's required, come from the environmental enhancement portion of our Measure T funds. And once the project moves forward, we hope to be complete by December of this year. We would recommend that council approve awarding the contract to Asphalt Design by Juan Gomez in the amount of $655,291.38 for the base bid and alternate 4. We are requesting construction contingencies of 8% and allowing up to 10% of the contract costs for construction, management, inspection, and any third-party testing as well. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. That was good. Member Rodriguez.
Ellen, you had mentioned that you stretched out to cover more alleys and not fully paving the alleys. So what does that say for the longevity of those alleys? I mean, does that mean that they'll have more wear, or we'll have to potentially revisit those alleys here in the near future, or?
We are putting in a full structural section of 3 inches of asphalt over 3 inches, the base rock course. So the drive path will have a long life with that. If there is any, and the shoulders adjacent to the paving will be graded so that there shouldn't be water standing along the edge. Potentially, there may be some erosion of the edge of the paving area, but that's something I think that Public Works could address if it becomes too much of a problem.
But by doing this, we're not shortening the life of that. Because we're wanting to stretch out those funds, but my concern is that we're having to revisit this here, a lot quicker than we should, because we didn't address the full alley.
I think that given the nature of the traffic patterns on the alleys, where they generally, because we've got the garbage cans on both sides, that it's mirroring the drive path of the vehicles. And where there is a paved garage or some other access, there will be an alley, a paved approach into that. So we have 12 feet of pavement, and an alley is 20 feet wide, so we're going to have 4 feet of unpaved section on each side. I think because there is no other funding source for alley paving, I think that was the intention of the project, is to try to get as many as we could, and that was how we did it, by reducing that paving width.
Thank you. Ellen.
Member Garcia.
So in my alley, the garbage cans are on one side only. So we'll put them either on the left or the right. So we put them across. I don't know if you knew that. And also, I think, addressing Councilman Rodriguez's question, is by leaving the middle portion unpaved, if you will, does it deteriorate quicker? Is it stable? Is it something that we're looking at based upon other communities, other municipalities they've been successful with? Because what do we know about that type of construction for the alleys?
The paving, the section that's going to be paved is in the middle of the alley. So the middle 12 feet of a 20-foot alley will received the full structural section of the 3 inches of asphalt over the 3 inches of base rock. And it's fully compacted below that. So it's a travel lane basically down the middle of the alley. And then there's 4 feet on the outsides that will be graded, but not paved. Yeah. So I think it's a standard structural section. In fact, it's beefed up a little bit. Typically, it would be 2 inches of asphalt over 4 inches of base rock, but there's more strength in asphalt than the base rock. So by going with 3 over 3, we've assured a standard street life, which is 20 years and beyond for that, for that 12 feet of pavement.
20 years?
20 years is the expected life on that section.
And maybe I should have asked you that first. That's kind of what I was looking at. So
Okay.
it's got a 20-year durability, longevity.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Just wanted to make sure that we're going to put something here in the next 5 years. We have to revisit that because now we have all these potholes or deteriorating of the alleys.
And that's correct. So when we were weighing how to best spread the dollars, you could go more pavement, but if it was a thinner structural section, it would not last as long. So we went for that durability.
Thank you, Ellen.
That helps.
Developing information.
Yeah, we got some late breaking news.
The additional information is that Public Works has been doing a similar approach to alleys when they can. They haven't gotten a chunk of money in at one time like this, and they've taken a similar approach where they've done 12-foot of paving with the asphalt over the base rock as well.
So we have existing alleys with the same type of paving.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from council? No? Anyone from the audience wishing to speak on this item? No? All right. Let's bring it back to council for action.
Motion to approve C7.
Second.
Is that with the change to have the Mayor Pro Tem approve?
Of course.
Yeah. Second. So it's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries, or passes 6-0 with the mayor abstaining.
Recusing.
Or recusing himself. Thank you, and bring back the mayor. Bring us home.
Good job, Steve.
Pro Tem, I appreciate that.
Tell him to do it again.
One and done.
Well, I can tell you this, Bruce Bochy got his 2,000th win this evening as the Giants beat the Red Sox. Go Giants. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Boyle.
The Dodgers still in first base.
Yes, I know. And the Dodgers come to San Francisco this weekend. Moving on to council member reports. There's no admin reports. This portion of the meeting is reserved for the mayor and council members to make a brief reports on boards, committees, and other public agencies and at public events. So I'll start at my far right with Councilmember Robinson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I attended the Madera Unified School District Wellness Committee meeting today at 4:30, and it was on Safe Routes to School lunch program. And they talked about the 6 E's of Safe Route to School, which are more effective in increasing physical activity and reducing injury for children. And plus, they cover education, encouragement, engineering, enforcement, evaluation, and equity. And this will be, the paving of the alleys would be a good route for bicycles and walkers. So you can include that in the program. We have, it's going to be, next year, they plan to have it in completion. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report. Councilwoman Gallegos.
Just to give a shout out to a new business that opened in Madera today, ribbon cutting for the money store. Alvarez and Garcia are locally born and raised Maderans, 2 powerhouse women that are moms that decided to go out on their own and started a business, and they had their official ribbon cutting today. So shout outs and kudos for them.
Great, great. Love a new business in Madera. Councilman Garcia.
I would like to wish my son, Javier Garcia, happy birthday. He's 30 years old today. He's an employee of Madera County. We're very proud of him, and he was a baby not too long ago, and he's a full-grown man now. And although I couldn't be with them at the party at my daughter's house today, I would wish to wish him a happy birthday. Thank you.
He'll always be your baby, right? And it's not too late. It's not too late. You can go for some cake right now in a few minutes. Councilman Hawley.
Nothing to report.
Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Member Dillon. I too would like to wish my son, Vincent Rodriguez, a happy birthday. He turns 12 today. We had an opportunity to see the Madera's Got Talent. He participated on that, came out with the second place and $100. So
nice.
Congratulations for him. The turnout was really good. This was held by the Madera Leos. They put together a really good show. Normally, our mayor is the MC. With his absence, Tim Richey did a great job. And they solicited me to do it next year, but I think I'll pass that back to the mayor. He's done a great job in the past years. But anyhow, it was a good turnout. A lot of kids from Madera turned out, and you know, you get to see some of the talent that we have with these kids, both musically and when they sing and all. So it's a really good deal. So again, just want to wish my son happy birthday, and it was a good turnout to see a lot of folks out there. So thank you.
And there is a lot of talent in Madera, that's for sure. These kids are amazing, absolutely amazing. Thank you for that report. Mayor Pro Tem Montes.
Yeah, I have a couple things. From CAPMC, Tina from Victim Services would like to invite people to the 18th Annual Soup Bowl. And this is for raising awareness for domestic violence, October 18th from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. And this is going to be at the United Methodist Church, 500 Sunset Street. I have some flyers if anybody would like some, to take some. And then I also have a community member provided some information for a free immigration workshop, Friday, September 27th, 2019, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Trinity Lutheran Church, 1125 North Lake Street. And I'll do this one in Spanish too, because they provided me with the material in Spanish. Vamos a tener un taller gratuito de inmigración el viernes 27 de septiembre de este año, desde las 3 a las 7, en Trinity Lutheran Church, en 1125 North Lake Street, aquí en Madera, para que necesitan esos servicios puedan atender.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much for that. I was unable to MC the event because I was in Washington, D.C., which was a great trip. As I mentioned before, it's called the Valley Voice, representing 8 counties and a little over 4 million people in the central San Joaquin Valley, and we advocate and lobby for additional federal funding for things like clean air, transportation, water, Buy America waivers that we had talked about before with a lot of the street sweepers and buses and things like that. And it's great when you can get together and meet with colleagues from South Valley and North Valley and come together and speak as one voice. And so our legislators were very gracious and very open to our concerns, and it's going to be another successful trip. It's always measured by how much money we get in the end, so I'll report on that a little bit later on. I also had the privilege this morning of meeting with Pershing Elementary School Robotics. Robotics has taken off, as we all know. We had the world champion robotics team here, and they're the 3rd or 4th elementary school to get into introducing robotics to 5th and 6th graders. And these kids are amazing, and they had a couple of mentors from Madera High School to come and mentor them, and they were building like miniature robotics. It was a pleasure to speak with them, and they asked me questions not really pertaining to robotics, but about government and about our downtown and about things that, Mr. Boyle, you would absolutely love when it comes to planning, and also Mr. Helmuth when it comes to engineering and things like that. So I invited them one day to come down with some more questions if they had them and introduce them to our team down here. Just brilliant young minds at Pershing Elementary School. And after that, I went to Valley Children's Hospital. I'm sure you may see or will be seeing in the news. They're going to open, they broke ground on a 128-bed behavioral mental health facility. As we all know, mental health is a big issue, and like homeless, it's not going to go away. And this has been in the making for about 5 years. And I was very happy to join them and a number of people in the standing room only at Valley Children's to celebrate the fact that they're going to have 24 beds dedicated to children ages 5 to 17. And at full build-out, there will be an 81, almost 82,000 square foot building with 128 beds. We heard enough acronyms tonight through the things that we passed, the resolutions that we passed, but Councilman Rodriguez and I attended a MCTC meeting, and my comments that I've already expressed to Mr. Aguilar is just how important Measure T and SB 1 funding is to the county of Madera and to the city of Madera. We would not be having these conversations and spending this money on our roads and from filling potholes and maintenance money to transit, safe routes to schools if it wasn't for that funding. It is just very, very important. And on a final note, this is more of a request. We were awarded, I want to say maybe close to a year and a half or 2 years ago, Mr. Rodriguez, a downtown planning grant. You and I have had a couple of conversations about it. It kind of sat stagnant for a while, and I think now it's off and running. But I'd really like to have a report to council as to where we are with that planning grant. And I'm going to be very frank here. I'm not very comfortable with the outreach and how things are progressing on the front end. So if you already know this, I really just kind of want to let council know that this is $1,000 planning grant for downtown. I thought we would kick off something here with information to council, kind of let us know what was going to be done. As far as I know, we really haven't heard anything yet, but things are moving forward. I have spoken to the Rios company and a few other people. I would just like to have an update for council and some timelines and, again, really get into the weeds about community outreach.
And we will have an update next council meeting.
Thank you very much. I have nothing else. Of course, Mr. Councilman Rodriguez.
Mr. Mayor, and I apologize. I got so excited with the birthdays that I left out a very important event that took place this Friday. We had an opportunity to meet with Director General Joseph Ma from the Pay Economic and Cultural Center in San Francisco. Actually came by and, it was great. We do have a twin sister in Ilan, Taiwan. So he comes from San Francisco, but he's directly from Taiwan. And we had an opportunity to not only meet with them, tour him around the city hall, but I'll yield some of this time now to our city manager so that he can highlight on the tour that they gave him also for the city of Madera.
Great.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Councilmember Rodriguez. On Friday afternoon, so the Director General Malcolm was here at City Hall. So we gave him a tour of City Hall. We exchanged a handful of gifts. And then after that, myself and school trustee Ed McIntyre and I and Joseph Carrillo from city staff toured the winery. The name's escaping me, even though my brother worked there for a point.
Canandaigua, it was like San Joaquin?
Yeah, Quaddy Winery. I
Quaddy
apologize for
Winery.
that. Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed considering that I grew up not too far from there. And so we toured the winery. It was a great tour. There was some wine tasting. I did not have any wine, for the record. And so it was just a very good time. Quadry Winery was very welcoming. We probably spent over an hour and a half there. So we got a private tour. We asked a lot of questions. I think at one point I probably asked more questions than anyone because I was so intrigued about the process, where they are purchasing their grapes from, the process, the timing, the number of employees, and they have a great staff there. And so it was pretty fascinating. And I said, so it was a very good time. It was relatively warm, but again, a very good time. And he did invite us to an event in San Francisco. I will be providing council with that information. And he said that he would be welcoming us as his guest of honors. And if memory serves me, it's coming up relatively soon. So I'll get that information out to council tomorrow.
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention Crystal Kidwell, because she's the one that brought him to the city on her way up to a concert where I think Councilmember Montes was also had opportunity to visit with them as well.
That performance was really something to behold with their Diabolos that they use. It was really nice. And thank you, Crystal, for inviting us and bringing them out there.
And I will say, this is the first time that I sounded the gong that we have out there, and I'll tell you what, man, that resonates all over the building, so it was a great thing.
Fun.
So, yeah.
It's fun. Well,
With that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Happy birthday to your son and Councilman Gosari, to your son. One other thing, there's a League of Cities meeting that's coming up in a couple of weeks. Matter of fact, it's coming up during the next council meeting.
Or 2 council meetings. So the second meeting in October.
In October, I'm sorry, not September. And I know, Mr. Rodriguez, you had expressed a desire to attend. I know Ms. Montoy as well. you expressed desire, and I'm not sure if council had it on the radar to attend that particular League of Cities, but maybe we have discussion on if we're going to have more than a couple of council members attending that meeting and there's not a lot on the agenda, then maybe we don't have a second council meeting in October and give that better comfort level to council members to attend that league meeting. There's always great information at the league, and I don't have it in front of me as far as everything that will be discussed, but I think it would behoove us to attend.
Yes, so the meeting begins on Wednesday, October the 16th. It runs through about midday on Friday, October the 18th, so it's a conference. And the conference itself, it's the League's annual conference and expo, where they have a lot of vendors, where they're talking about some of the legislative updates. And there's a lot of vendors there that provide services to public agencies. And it's a litany, or it's a laundry list of services. And so it's heavily attended, is my understanding. I've yet to attend this one. However, from speaking with individuals that historically have attended, they say that it's great benefit. So I did want to offer it to the council. It's not so long ago, it came up on my radar, and I thought that it would be beneficial for the council to have that information if they
Absolutely.
desire to attend.
So if we are, and again, it's only a suggestion, a quorum for a meeting is 4. But if there's a council member or council members that are planning on going, it was just a suggestion that maybe we could also use the second Wednesday of the month if we had an issue come up during our housing authority meeting, if need be. And just want to give opportunity for council members to attend that particular league meeting. So maybe let our city manager know as quickly as possible if you are planning on attending. Mr. Boyle?
If I might.
Of course.
The council did adopt a resolution at their last council meeting providing for an election on the second.
For the CFD election?
Bless you. Thank you very much.
That's already in motion right now, that item would be on your agenda.
Okay.
It would be difficult to cancel the meeting.
Do you want to move it to the 23rd?
So we could in theory continue if the council did want to attend it, to potentially say the 4th Wednesday of the month, which would be October the 30th in theory, correct?
23rd.
Okay.
And I think it would behoove this council if we have 3 absent members that we move that, only because there are important items that come along. I think it'd be a good idea for us to go out that route. Again, it's a suggestion, and I think, like you said, Mayor, I think it's good for us to let our city manager know if we are
That's why I
planning to attend.
wanted to bring it up now so we can prepare.
Thank you.
Great. That's all I have. Thank you, everybody, for attending. With that, meeting adjourned.